increasingly, menacingly, and completely. It has been observed how this major crisis has given rise to a surge in a number of crimes. It has altered the crime dynamics considerably, and it has given rise to a spurt in a number of crimes like the domestic violence, sexual exploitation and sexual assault, cyber crimes, quarantine crimes, hate crimes, and the list is endless. The challenges are huge and unfortunately less convenient. Having witnessed so much of pain and suffering all around, then when my inner voice softly knocked inside me to arise, awake, and put forth a small dream onto the public domain by organizing a webinar where experts from various fields, ranging from the law enforcers to the medical forensic experts and the preservers of mental health, to conveniently converse to a singular platform and forum where they could discuss, deliberate, express their views, share their concern, and also devise certain strategies and plan the ways and means to suitably and conveniently handle this pandemic and its outcome in a very virtuous and a successful manner, despite all these abysmally low and distressing times, establishing a peaceful coexistence with the nature. Now, I would have the honor to invite our Dean and Principal, MKCG Medical College, Berhampur, for lighting the lamp for the inaugural session. Please, ma'am, do the honors.
Sir.
It is a matter of great pleasure for me to welcome our Dean and Principal, MKCG Medical College, Berhampur, Professor Dr. Diptimai Tripathi, to this event. Currently, the head of the institution, who has really been a rock hard and a formidable pillar of strength during these tough times, extending her strong hand to each and every faculty and employee in this establishment to tide over the crisis with utmost love and passion and earnest solution. I take a bow to you, ma'am, we have with us the esteemed Dean and Principal, ma'am, to inaugurate the session. She has already inaugurated it. Now, ma'am, please do the honors of having the inaugural speech as well. Madam, it has. No, madam,
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Namaskar.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Warm good morning to one and all. It is a matter of great pride and honor to welcome you all to this scientific session, the impact of COVID-19 on crimes. And you know that this new disease, this invisible virus, the COVID-19 virus, the otherwise known as SARS-CoV-2 infection, was first detected in China, possibly in December 2019, and it was declared as a pandemic by the WHO in March 2011. Till now, it has affected 220 countries worldwide, affecting more than 30 crore of people, and the death possibly is around 45 lakhs. In India, it has, I think in March 13 or 14, it was a lockdown, and it has the experience, the first wave and also the second wave. And the total death, I think till today, it is 4.3 lakhs. What a great loss of lives. And the first wave, which was in the last year, it has affected mostly the elder people with comorbidities and also persons who are immunocompromised. And the second wave has mostly affected the backbone of the family, mostly the younger persons, younger people. And there is a speculation that the third wave may come and it will affect the future generation, mostly the children. The fear of impending doom still remains haunting millions of people across the globe, adding to great economic crisis, loss of lives, and also joblessness due to lockdown and shutdown. We have lost so many lives, and economic crisis, joblessness, and now there is insidiously increasing the number of crimes, starting from the increase in domestic violence, sexual exploitation, hate crimes, mental health problems. So many things are there. This requires a vivid discussion regarding the nature of crimes and their medical legal aspects and support for a holistic cure. So I take this opportunity to inaugurate. It is a great opportunity for me to inaugurate the scientific session by the Department of FMT, MKCG Medical College, which I will think will be helpful to all and how to handle them. I wish the Department of FMT a great success. God bless you. ମୁଁ ତୁ କହିବୁ ତତେ ସୁବିଧା ହବ। ଆରେ ଠିକ ଅଛି ରେ, ଏଇଟା କଣ ହୋଷ୍ଟ ନା।
Moving on. Moving on to our chief speaker. He belongs to a highly respected and revered service in the internal security system of India, the Indian Police Service. And as Sardar Patel put it, Indian Police Service, along with the Indian Administrative Service, as the most fundamental pillar of Indian democracy and extremely crucial for the maintenance of law and order, peace, sovereignty, and integrity of India. Joining us here today is the esteemed police officer Sri Santosh Kumar Upadhyay, IPS, who is going to speak on the topic and throw some important highlights. The topic being incidents and changes in pattern of crime during COVID-19 pandemic. He is currently the Director General Police Prisons and the Director of Correctional Services, Department of Home, Government of Odisha, and has been conferred with the President's Police Medal for his meritorious and distinguished service in his field of work. He has got the distinction of serving in all the specialized units of police, that is training, crime branch, intelligence, vigilance, law and order, operations, communications, etc. in various capabilities as the Superintendent of Police, DIG, and the Inspector General. He was in charge of OPHWC as the CMD and the head of the state CID-CB of Odisha. He had supervised the work of CID-CB Economic Offence Wings, Specialized Task Force, and Cyber Crimes. I welcome you, sir, on this forum to start with your deliberation. Sir, please do the honors.
Thank you. Am I audible, Sudita?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I convey my deep sense of gratitude to faculty members of Forensic Unit of MKCG and all the staff members of MKCG for holding this time-specific and need-specific webinar. Yes, always we should accept that where the problem is, like doctors, their prognosis says that let us identify what is the disease. Without proper diagnosis of the disease, we cannot treat it. Similarly, what is the problem in the society? How pandemic has affected? Yes, pandemic has affected all of us, each individually, as well as in a group also, both in the sense of emotional stability, spiritual stability, economic viability, as well as each and every aspect. So, as you know, how do the criminals operate? For criminals, they operate in an environment where it is congenial for them to do so. That means, as you know, there are two fortnights in any lunar month. One is dark fortnight, another is a bright fortnight. All of us know that for the criminals, the dark fortnights are the most luxuriant period for them. Unfortunately, the victims shed their properties and wealth or something like that. Similarly, this pandemic has given opportunity to these criminals, and more particularly to the cyber criminals, to ransack or to prevail over the peace-loving citizens of the country. As far as statistics is concerned, so far as the Odisha state is concerned, I'm just reading out the newspaper clipping of Indian Express dated 4th August, just 3 days back. the state has recorded a sharp 31% rise in cyber crimes in a year, as 1931 cases were registered last year as compared to 1475 cases in 2019, 867 cases in 2018, and 824 in 2017. As many as 5,640 numbers of cyber petitions were received in 2020, as against 2,558 in 2019. That means it is just like a double. That means though there was pandemic, though there was a lockdown, shutdown, and the economic activities were off for major part of the year in the 2020, still the criminals operated, and more particularly the cyber crimes. So before going into my deliberation, I'd like to congratulate the organizers of faculty members of Forensic Division of MKCG College Brahmpur for organizing this webinar, which is time specific as per the demand of current pandemic situation. As you know, for any medical surgery, pre-surgical tests are conducted. Similarly, a criminal conducts pre-operational survey to scout its victims, time, situation, vulnerability. After accessing the capacity as per the expectation of crime perpetrator, he executes with proper planning of delivery of crime proceeds without being caught in the naked eye. As I told that any crime, it has got 4 stages. Like your medical surgery or any operation, there is the first selecting the target, then preparation, then attempt, then commission of the operation successfully. Similarly, a criminal first scouts his victim, then he selects the time, he selects the modus operandi, he selects the methodology, and how the money will be transferred, and he will not be caught. The thing is in the cyber criminals particularly, they take the latest advantages of the technological facilities or benefits, how to dupe the people without being caught. I will go into details of the crime later on. During the pandemic time, lockdown shutdowns, the cyber crimes, and particularly the series of new form of crimes have been reported. Here the cyber criminals operate without any barrier of the country. We don't generally any black crimes or white collar crimes. It operates within a typical boundary or frontier or typical jurisdictional, something like that. But the cyber criminals can operate anywhere in the world by the use of internet technology and all these things, through apps and all these things. They can operate beyond the jurisdiction of the continent, beyond the jurisdiction of any country, beyond the jurisdiction of any state and time, nothing like that. During preparation stage, he gets access to person-specific exclusive database like his cell number, address, PAN number, and others from various sources like credit cards dealing entities, banking staff, insurance staff, mobile service provider, e-commerce entities. These e-commerce entities, like say, there are so many e-commerce entities like Amazon, like the Jio, then this is the Big Bazaar, then Kolkata market. So many hundreds of all these things are nothing to specify against anybody. But the most important thing is that we are sharing our debit card or credit card to some of the entities. When these entities are having access to our debit card and credit card, they do divulge this database secretly or covertly or without knowledge of anybody to the criminals concerned. Not everywhere, but some of the as you know, the society is never a bad society, is always a combination of good fellows and bad fellows, good virtues as well as bad vices also. So the bad people always find out how to exploit from the system, how to exploit from the position of the lockdown or shutdown or the miseries of the people in general and their economic sufferings and all these things, their stress, their the depression. These criminals, they exploit these weaknesses and the inherent emotional stability of the persons concerned. Then I'll come to the next question. Why do the victims believe him to be bona fide and share OTPs? While working at crime branch cutoff, I found that one the very senior advocate, he came to me and reported that I had been duped for around 18 to 20 lakhs in one particular day. Then I checked up his account, passbook details and all these things. I wanted to know whether he has been duped at one go or second go or third go or many. To my surprise, that he had been attacked through cyber process, through messaging and this OTP based thing, 8 to 10 times in one particular 1 hour. And this gentleman, who is learned and is also quite educated as being an advocate, he went on giving the OTPs again and again and again and again for 7 to 8 times. In the process, that person was successfully debiting the account from this advocate's hardened case to the concern, the credit of the accused persons. So that means we are duped. We believe that the person who is calling is a bona fide person. Actually, the criminal selects the vulnerability, the status of victim very meticulously through survey. Normally, he sends a link or missed call or SMS of getting prize money. You have been selected for so much of rupees, 5 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees. One should understand that nobody gives us 1 rupee free. There is no free lunch anywhere. So why somebody will be giving money to me? Why my mobile will be selected as a successful lucky winner for some prizes from some Middle East countries or foreign countries? Why? These are all frauds. Similarly, when you open the mail, our mails are also in the clutches of various criminals and all these things, various vested interest people. They send the links, mail attachments to our bona fide mails. When you open these unsolicited mails, then through that unsolicited mail attachment, we are attacked. The virus enters into my system. It steals the data from my computer or laptop. Then it perpetrates the crime further. Then our secrecy or privacy is compromised. So we should never believe that an easy way of getting money of 5 lakh or 10 lakh, something like that, is not to be believed at all in any circumstances, whether in pandemic or without pandemic time. Then there is always a banking safety system. As you all of us know that whenever we are going through bona fide debit system by some payments in some shops or merchants or something like that, POS, something like that, or even withdrawal from the ATM, we always get SMS linked to our mobile number that is, your account has been debited for rupees 5,220 from shop so and so and so. If not done by you, you immediately send this message to particular toll-free number. That means the banks have got inbuilt security system to prevent any frauds. If it has not been done by you, if the transaction is not yours, if the transaction is not a bona fide thing, then it sends a message immediately. The transaction is made by fraudster. You immediately send that message to concerned number. But what happens? People ignore. They do not see the messages for a long time, even after 1 day, something like that. When by the time then they see the message, the delay has been caused and the money has been already looted. The criminals always select the timing carefully. What is the timing importance? Generally, a person who sleeps at around, say, normal people sleep around 10 to 11 p.m. This fraudster will ring you at a time when you are asleep or full or in a deep slumber, something like that. He rings you, sir, are you Mr. So and so and so? Yes, I am so and so and so. No, your mobile number has been hacked. Your account number has been hacked and compromised. You immediately share your ATM 4-digit number. Once you are in the sleep and your mind is not properly thinking, your brain is not thinking, you tend to believe him to be bona fide banking officer or something like that, and you, without any thought process, without any second thought, you immediately divert. No, I am sending the number. Please block that thing. No. By doing so, The criminal has selected your vulnerability time. He knows that suppose you are deep asleep at 5 a.m. He rings you and he possesses that I am General Manager, State Bank of India, speaking from Mumbai. He talks in very specific, very high profile English, very smart English. Then you tend to believe, yes, he is General Manager SBI. Why you will say wrong to me? He is speaking in smart English. No, these are all the duping tactics being practiced by the fraudsters. He selects the timing carefully, particularly when the victim is tired or about to sleep or during very early morning, so that victim immediately shares OTP without even understanding the consequences. Criminals generally get access to our personal data from corrupt personnel engaged by various genuine stakeholders. As I told, the genuine stakeholders, genuine stakeholders means we are doing a lot of e-transactions, purchases, and all these things, online purchases. During this pandemic, this online purchases had increased. As there was no, since the markets were closed, people had no other option but to depend upon the e-purchases, online purchases. But while doing this online purchases, we have shared our privacy, our details of the banking accounts, numbers, everything. Then these are being accessed by the criminals through these purchase stakeholders. Social media is playing a major havoc nowadays, where people are lured by innocence of fraudsters by developing friendship and then sharing privacy, pictures, and account numbers. And quite often, they give false promise of marriages. When I was in crime branch, I had come across that they select some of the women who are quite in the senior, the middle group, let's say 30 or 40 unmarried. Then some messages, some mails come from USA or other European countries or Middle East countries that I am unmarried, I am doing so much of business, I have so much of properties. I like you. I have been impressed by your personality. I have seen your profile. Would you like to marry? So by sending this kind of internet chats and all these things, that is all duping tactics. They induce the concerned ladies and unmarried ladies in particular, and by giving the false hope that I could go to USA or European countries and have a lavish lifestyle in the future, and I will not rot in the rural area, something like that. By developing this friendship, what these people do, they ask you to share your private photographs, nude photographs, bedroom photographs, and then these people expert in the sense, then they start blackmailing. By inducing that you are the genuine lover and you want to marry, then they start these crimes, and they sometimes they will suddenly one point of time they will tell that, oh, I was coming to India to meet you. I have been arrested by the Delhi police or IGI airport. Customs is not clearing. Can you please pass on 5 lakh rupees to my account number so that I can be bailed out or released? Police is asking this bank guarantee of 5 lakh rupees, something like that. Then believing him that that person is my genuine lover to whom I am going to marry, these people have been transferring the cash immediately. And these are the fraudsters operating in Delhi. It is called Nigerian crimes because most of the Nigerians used to do, but nothing with the Nigeria country like that. The crime has been given a name, Nigerian type of crimes in Delhi. These people do all these things. They use fake Aadhaar card, they use fake passport number, they give you fake account number, the fake mail IDs, fake posturing of a big officer in entities or NGOs or any IT company, something like that. Then they induce you, and that when you are induced and duped and you believe him that concerned person is loving me and going to be my life partner, you share your hard-earned savings money with these criminals, and subsequently when I had gone to I had received some cases of instance, even one government lady officer, she has donated up to 27 lakh rupees in various phases. When the fraud amount reached 27 lakh, then she could realize that I am being duped. But by that time, here, as I have told you, the criminals do not have any barriers or in this country or continent, nothing like that. You do not know from where they are doing, but they are just getting the money transferred, e-transfer. Another type of fraud, that is the messaging about erection of a mobile tower on your private house. Somebody will send a advertisement in the even the local vernacular newspaper that we will be erecting towers at such and such location in such and such town. People who are interested to have these towers, people think that yes, by erecting tower on my land, abandoned land or useless land, I can earn 20,000 or 30,000 per month, then 3 lakh to 4 lakh rupees per annum. Then these fellows, there is a way of duping you people. This is the way of duping you people. Then they will ask you to pay advance deposit of around say 5 lakh rupees, something like that. Then your thing will be processed, and they will be saying that it is a bank guarantee type of thing. When you will be closing the agreement, this 5 lakh rupees will be refunded to you. No, these are all frauds. Then another type of fraud is that look-alike websites. One thing I want to highlight to the August hearing is that most of us are watching these websites. There are two things. One is HTTPS. Last S stands for secure. Then another is HTTP. Remember, whenever you are getting any mail from HTTP only, that means it is a fraud. Don't believe it. It is no bona fideness. It is not to be relied or not to be trusted. On any website or any mail that they are opening up, if it is starting with HTTPS, S stands for secure, that means it is a secured website, secured and bona fide thing. Why I said that the look-alike type of website? I had come through one case of Reliance petrol pump. Like Reliance website, the look-alike, I told that it's look-alike. They copy like Facebook. They copy the website. It looks like Reliance petrol ownership like that. Then that means it's a fake website. It must be starting with HTTP without S. Then it advises it is a fake website. In the fake website, it advertises that we are interested in letting out the new outlets of the petrol pumps. Now, petrol pump is a very lucrative business and profitable business also. I was surprised to find that one person from interior area of Dhenkanal district, he deposited the entire saving money of his retired father, 35 lakh rupees in various phases to get that. No, this is stage 1 deposit, this is stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, stage 6, went on and on. When the amount reached such a heavy amount, then he suspected. Then he came out to us with the advertisement and all these things, letters received from the fake Reliance petrol pump websites. That means whenever we are seeing any website, we must see that whether it is starting with HTTPS or HTTP, whether it is bona fide or look like say any Philips which are branded or any branded materials, say Howell, something like that, they will publish in a website, a fake website, just minimizing E for I, double L for single L, then I replaced by double E, something like that, so that the fake website, it looks exactly like the original website and people are defrauded. Another type of fraud is that the complainant is a wholesale dealer. He wanted to purchase the masks through online for his business. For this purpose, it has happened particularly during the pandemic time. For this purpose, he searched the phone number from Google. From Google, the fraudsters can get the mobile number. He searched the mobile number and cheated by the fraudsters if the phone number was not belonging to any suppliers. That means somebody fakely induced you to believe that I am the bona fide supplier of the masks or sanitizers or other medical equipments. You send your advance bill, I will send the materials online supply, but nothing comes out back. That means the money is totally defrauded. Similarly, unknown video calling showing obscene videos and recorded that video in which Then they blackmail him for ransom. Sometimes you receive the video call, something like that, or with an unknown number. You may think that bona fide, because being a good, every person is having goodness also. He believes that somebody could be in distress. He might be requiring my help. Then when you open that video, something like that, then he will record some of your video photographs with him. Then he will also show you the photographs which you have foolishly uploaded into the Facebook and other social media, and induce you that yes, and some naked photographs by morphing some of the photographs, and he will blackmail you for money payments. Unless you pay money, I will be exposing you. Then to conceal your privacy, to protect your reputation, you find that the best way is to pay money and get rid of this fellow. But that never happens. The criminal will continue to perpetrate the crime again and again. Similarly, some unknown person called the complaint saying, it has happened in Odisha. In Kaliya Yojana, your account will be credited rupees 5,000. Please give your account details with the ATM card, details, phone number, PIN number, etc. Once you give, that amount of money being credited to you, big amount of money will be debited from your existing account. It is happening in the pandemic time. Similarly, some messages coming from unknown sources that government, which looks like government portal. I told you that look alike website. It looks like government portal, but these are all fake. It says that if you want to book the slot for vaccination, please click link given below. In this way, the fraudsters have cheated the people by taking all the bank credentials from the complainants. Because of the current pandemic, many people have been forced to quit jobs for various reasons and are spending times on the depression. One of the worst affected, as I started, that it is not only emotional instability, but spiritual issues and situational issues. Many people are unable to go to the foreign country because the ban in the foreign travels and all this. Many people have lost the jobs, quit the jobs, and come back to their home areas. They are living under deep sense of depression. But this deep sense of depression is being exploited by the criminals who have scouted you. So the criminals are targeting the victims who are under depression, and they are persistently attacking them by sending some false promises, messages that I am going to give you job, something like that. Please accept my that thing, but for bank guarantee, please deposit, something like that. It is basically the human greed. Why do we fall prey to them? It is basically the human greed to earn easy money that forces victim to be induced of false claims. All must understand that, as I have already told, nobody is going to give us a free lunch or a 10 rupee free. Not 10 rupee, nobody is going to give us. We don't pay anything. Beggar might be asking some money. We just give 1 rupee or 10 rupee maximum, like that. But if it doesn't ask, we just pass like by our car. We don't halt to pay money. So nobody loves to part with any 1 rupee or 10 rupee, forget about 100 rupee or lakhs of rupees. But the cyber criminals, they are really playing havoc with the innocent citizens of the country. Then again, it is smartphones. Most people are using the smartphones and downloading various apps. Whenever we are downloading any new app, the app says that you give this permission. They are asking 10 to 12 permissions. We don't understand the consequences of giving these permissions. But we are so much in a hurry to get into that app to go for this video making of these photographs and something like that, without any understanding any consequences. We give our location, institute access to my mobile phone, access to my microphone, access to my photograph. We give all access to them. Then these apps, their job is to enter into the detailed database of your smartphone. Then subsequent attempt is to pass on the information to the criminals, fraudsters who are linked with them, cyber criminals. Then they operate. Even phishing mails, and as I've already explained, phishing mails and unsolicited mails come to steal the database from our computers, smartphones. Smartphones are also computers. So one must be very careful while sharing cell number or PAN number to anyone. Normally what we do, whenever we are going to have any new business setup or a new account or any e-commerce site, something like that, they ask that you give your Xerox copy of Aadhaar card, Xerox copy of a PAN card, Xerox copy of an address card, metric certificate, proof like that. We just give it Xerox, yes, true copy. But what do? They utilize the Xerox copies for some other processes so that the criminals can operate. Unless and until we write that in that piece of paper that this is exclusively given for opening the account in that UCO Bank of Bhubaneswar. If you don't write that exclusive purpose or obtaining a pass from the secretariat, if you don't write that thing, that Xerox paper can be utilized by anybody through scanning process and smartphone transfers and all these things. So I am telling that the crimes are occurring. These are the few methodologies of crimes being perpetrated by them. Then like any doctors, they will say that walking is the best exercise. Similarly, what are the preventive steps to get rid of these things? While talking through in this webinar, I have already told that preventive step is that link your mobiles with the concerned banking sector from where the money is getting debited. Each bank sends you automated message that so much rupees have been debited from their bona fide account, either debited or by withdrawal or by some purchases in some shop, something like that. If it is not done by you, you immediately send this message to so and so the toll-free number. It is there. But if you do not take this advantage, that means this is inbuilt preventive technology. Even if somebody has done it, you can detect it in the first go and block it. At least the future or subsequent withdrawals are prevented and stopped. So prevention is the best way to get rid of these traps by not handing over. Another thing, normally our friends will induce us that I have not brought my phone. Can you just give me your phone? I want to ring somebody like that. Once he takes your phone and he pretends that I am going to bathroom, something like that. No, he or she is just copying your QR code, and by copying that QR code, your entire database of the money which is stored in the smartphone. These are all copied, and the QR code is just passed on to the fraudster. Then when he or she comes back within 2 minutes, it's a job of less than 1 minute. When he or she comes back and hands over to the mobile, he will be showing that I tried somebody's number, but it is not, that is a bona fide number. He was not responding. So okay, but he has already stolen the database from your smartphone. Smartphone is again a computer, as I have told you. So one should be very careful. One should never part with your smartphone to anybody. Second is the cloning. Your SIM card could be cloned by various apps and various fraudsters operating in the country. So your SIM card could be cloned also. That's why even if the SIM card is cloned, you can find out whether your data is getting adjusted in 1 day or 2 days, something like that. Then you can find out, even suspect that yes, there could be some cloning of my SIM card for which my data, though I have just credited 500 rupees of data card, how it got adjusted within 1 day. That means there is something fishy or doubtful. So quite often these fraudsters dupe innocent customers by creating, as I told, look-alike websites resembling exactly like originals. So we should be doubly careful whenever we open a website, whether it is starting with HTTPS or not, whether it looks bona fide or not. Even it is for the e-purchase sites also, e-commerce sites also. So always open with HTTPS and start from the Google, so that you are not duped. If you start from some other things and it is HTTP, you cannot know, because Google keeps account of all the bona fide websites. It will start always with HTTPS. But if you get some message and it starts with HTTP, then you from the mobile phone, you go to the laptop or computer, then you start with HTTP, then you are compromising and you are becoming vulnerable and prey to the prey of the criminals. So here catch is that starting address of website has to be HTTPS, S for secure. So best thing is that self-awareness is the only solution. Self-awareness in the sense that what are the type of frauds? We let us read by the daily newspapers. Each newspaper is giving so and so has been cheated by the cyber criminals in this way or that way. Unless we read the methodology of the cheating of innocent persons anywhere in the country, we cannot enlighten ourselves that yes, if it could be he, then it could be me next time, or my family members could be next time. So we must read and get ourselves updated about the latest set of crime, form of crimes, modus operandi of crimes, and methodology of crime perpetrated by them. And as I told you repeatedly, that please don't believe anybody whosoever is sending you message or mail and you do not know that person. Don't believe them at all. And don't make friendship with the foreigners outside. These are not foreigners. Actually, they pose themselves as foreigners by having the fake Facebook page or something like that. They do chatting, and by chatting, they induce you to be a genuine lover or genuine friend and something like that. Then he invites you to come to Switzerland and America, and we'll have a good time, fun. Then some point of time, at some time, he will just cheat you. Can you please send me 5 lakh rupees and 20 lakh rupees? I'm in deep trouble. I will refund the money. So we must read the Delhi newspaper, English newspapers, and the vernacular newspapers to get ourselves updated how one has been cheated. So when somebody rings us and poses that I am talking from so and so, and your mobile has been selected for the lottery or prize money, please give your account number, we will be crediting. Then somebody tells that I am from ICICI Bank, and your credit card is ready, and if you open this credit card and you are getting directly credit of 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees into your account number. So all these things you believe, once you share that thing, you are further cheated. So best thing is that, as I told you, like any, if you do not want to be cut or affected or infected by any diseases, whether it's contagious or otherwise, we must have preventive steps and protect ourselves by, like say for pandemic, we are using this mask, social distancing, and the normal protocols also. Similarly, to prevent we being the victims of the crimes, and particularly cyber criminal crimes in this pandemic time, we must protect ourselves with the like mask and social distancing. We must protect ourselves with the latest and basic intelligence and basic knowledge how not to be cheated or duped. So with this, I have finished my short lecture, and I hope it has been useful to all of you, and I have explained in a very simple and very routine manner, so that without any jargons of cyber technology or nothing like that. So I think it must have been well appreciated and understood by my friends who are various stakeholders. Last point before I part with that, I would like to say that there is role of this forensic scientist. Forensic scientist, till now we had been dealing that the dead body, corpse, or this re-establishment of the crime scene and like that. Similarly, the new horizon has come up. It is the cyber forensic expertise. Unfortunately, we lack with adequate amount of cyber forensic auditors or experts in our country, and very few in our states also like that. Unless we collaborate and we have deep nexus with the cyber forensic experts, it will be extremely difficult to detect these crimes. After these crimes have been detected, it is our duty also. Forget about the crimes happening. After the crimes have happened, it is also our duty to the job of the law enforcement agency is to nab them. So nabbing them and getting the cyber evidence also, and to put the criminals for under the clutches of the law, they have to be sent to the judicial custody. They have to face the judicial process, the trials, so that the criminals get punishment. To fetch punishment, there has to be clinching forensic evidence. This forensic evidence, to get the forensic evidence from the person, cyber criminal, his software, his laptop, his smartphone are to be seized, and the data from his mobile or laptop has to be brought into record evidence with the help of cyber forensic experts. So there is absolute necessity of cyber forensic experts in each district, and so that they can really help in detecting these crimes and putting the criminals under the bar and facing convictions in those cases successfully. So thank you once again very much for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. Thank you, Professor Sujit Das.
Thank you very much for such a marveling and enlightening presentation, sir. Thank you for joining us all here despite your busiest schedule. My sincere gratitude to you, sir, for making it a memorable by such a vivid presentation. And there are some questions in the chat box. Sir, I would like to present one or two, like how to avoid the type of traps like lucky winner prizes. Is there any method in the system to stop this type of offerings and catch this type of criminals, sir?
It is just it is simply as I have explained that nobody will be giving you 5 rupees prize money just like that. Nobody is going to any message that your mobile has been selected for this golden prize. These are all fake things, not to believe at all. You think that why I will get 1 rupee or from Middle East countries or the European countries? It is just these are all fake things. So these messages have to be simply blocked and forever. Don't believe at all.
Yes, such type of messages are best to be ignored, sir. That's what is your final message. Okay, thank you so much. And I'm not going to promise that I will never haunt you again with my constant reminders and my emails for subsequent joining with us in any future endeavor, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Please carry on.
Yes, yes. Now, moving on to our next speaker, we have the pleasure to invite Dr. Sanjay Das, Professor and Head, Department of Forensic Medicine and Toxicology at Himalayan Institute of Medical Sciences, Dehradun, and Deputy Medical Superintendent, Hospital, SRH University, Jollygrant, Uttarakhand. He is the professor and head, and not only that, he is also the state jurisprudence expert for the state of Uttarakhand. He was the previous General Secretary of Indian Association of Forensic Medicine for 4 years and author of several chapters in various textbooks. His topic today that he's going to deliver is ethical and legal issues pertaining to COVID-19 management in the living. A person very poised, calm, serene, yet captivating, is one of the most eloquent speakers of our genre who can really enthrall the audience with his amazing discussions and deliberations. Sir, the end of the session will be moderated by Dr. Abanita Sethi, Assistant Professor, FMT, MKCG Medical College. Sir, please can start the topic, sir.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yeah, sir, you are audible.
Thank you so much. I think I'll start with my slide share right away. Please let me know if you can see my slides.
Sir, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. Well visible, sir. You can carry on. Sir.
Well, thank you very much. So you can see the slide view also, slideshow view.
Sir.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Sudeepa, and thank you, organizers from MKCG Medical College, which happens to be, I am an alumni of MKCG Medical College as well. And since so many years, and when Dr. Sudeepa told me that she's going to arrange or organize an international webinar, I was like overwhelmed. I said, this is going to be wonderful. And that too, a topic so close to my heart. I have been here as the nodal officer for COVID as well. So this topic is definitely very close to my heart. And to inform you, I just a few days back had an angioplasty done. So with two stents in my heart, I'm going to reach you out with a still stronger heart maybe now. So here I am. I'll be talking about COVID-19, the legal and ethical issues in the legal. Uh, I'll try to keep it very, very simple. Actually, when we talk of legal and ethical issues, there are many, 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 many issues which you can think of. There could be thousands, millions, in fact. I'll just restrict myself to a very few so that when we talk of legal and ethical issues, they can be used as some food for thought so that we can actually think of issues like this when we actually come across a situation like this COVID-19 pandemic. Uh, we have got so many laws, we've got the Disaster Management Act of 2005. I'll not go into details of any of these. This was for the effective management of disasters and matters connected therewith and incidental thereto. So there was the National Disaster Management Authority, the NDMA, which was under the leadership of the Prime Minister. And then under the chairmanship of the Health Secretary, we had the NEA, National Executive Committee. On March 24th, 2020, orders were issued to the states to take appropriate and effective measures regarding COVID-19. That is how all this legal process actually started. In the meanwhile, what all happened? Just think about it. We had biobanking, then things like contact tracing, geolocalization of people. Then there was triage and prioritization of patients. We have always been talking about triage. We have always been talking about prioritization of patients. But this triage and prioritization was a little different from what it was, what we used to do in our regular hospital practice. We had quarantine measures. Now, these quarantine measures for COVID also were different from the quarantine measures that we used to have for other diseases. Then we had closures of all sorts, like lockdowns and things. Many of them were partial, some were full, and all these terms came in like lockdown, etc. I mean, we hardly have been hearing these terms. Then drug use, new drugs came in for new disease. And then many of the drugs were criticized. Some of them was we initially said are wonderful drugs. Actually, they are going to, they are wonderful, in fact. Then suddenly one day we heard, oh, this drug is not good at all. It should not have been used. Then again, we find another study somewhere and somebody says, oh, this is again a wonder drug. So all that confusion prevailed and persisted. Many of them are still persisting. Then came the question of vaccine development. For a new disease, new methodology was adopted. We started making vaccines. All over the globe, vaccines started being researched and manufactured. We have the common saying that a vaccine will take so many years for actually being researched, tried, and actually being used for the people. But here things were much faster. There was no way out. We had to use those vaccines to prevent deaths and uh, disabilities. A new thing came in, distance learning. Everything went online and this and that and the other. In our lifetimes, we never had these kinds of things. Many terms which we heard were new to us during this pandemic. At the same time, many things happened with us which had never happened before in our entire lifetimes. We have forgotten or we hardly remembered the influenza pandemic, which had occurred many, many years ago. So very little lesson could be learned from there, and which we could actually apply here. Now, just in short, I'll try to be, restricting myself to time and keep everything very, very short. So I'll go right away to some legal issues first. Legal issues, we had lockdown everywhere. All of us know that we had lockdown in different regions. Now, the lockdown norms also varied from place to place, state to state, region to region, even city to city or town to town. So, we did not have a uniform lockdown norm for the entire country. Probably, this was the need of the hour. Not that we would not have done with one single lockdown norm, but probably that would not have suited during that time. So, like, we had in some places closures of schools, in some places the colleges opened, some places the worship places were partially opened, in some places they were closed completely. Marketplaces in some areas they were opened for a short while, some places they were absolutely closed. Some in some regions only weekend openings were there. So all these were legal issues. But probably at the end also I would mention that all these were the requirements of that particular time. So when I am discussing legal or ethical issues, I am not going to criticize what happened, nor am I going to say that what happened was wonderful. No, it is just to give you some food for thought that these could be a lot of issues. Coming to very simple thing like provision of PPE kit to the health workers. The healthcare workers, even Supreme Court had given a ruling that healthcare workers should be protected and adequate amount of PPE kits should be given to everybody. But when you actually look back, when you think during the first and second waves, especially during the first wave, there was an acute shortage of PPE kits and they were very, very expensive initially. So many places they had to do with either no PPE kit, excepting maybe just masks. Even N95 masks were very expensive. So healthcare workers had to do without masks, sometimes without N95 masks. Full PPE kit was not available at times, in spite of the Supreme Court ruling. But maybe during that time, it was not all that possible. Now, since Supreme Court had said this, all healthcare institutions did their best to provide PPE kits to the healthcare workers. But again, the legal issue was that there was no uniform mechanism of monitoring whether actually the Supreme Court ruling was followed or not followed. So there was a lot of controversy. People said, okay, PP kits are not available. Some people said we have adequate. So all those things kept on happening. Then came the Arogya Setu app. It was a wonderful app which was made in India. All of us would actually, uh, I mean, felt very safe with this app. But then again, there were voices against it. It was open to legal challenge. There was some legal challenge. People quoted the Puttaswamy judgment of 2017 and 18, where protection of privacy of data was actually uh, came into force, and a lot of legal challenge was there. People said, no, no, the data is not going to be protected. Now, how can we give our geolocation? How can we give our personal data? But then probably the Arogya Setu app did a great job in India. Uh, so some people, you can see this cartoon that I found on the net. It was like, the Vikram Vetal. The Vetal said, so if you don't tell me who created the Arogya Setu app, if you fail to answer, I'll make all your data public. So this was a cartoon. So people have different ideas of this app, And well, it was definitely open to legal challenge. Migrant workers. Now, every Indian citizen has a right to equality, right to life, and right to move freely about in India. But what happened during the migration of this migrant workers movement, we all know. Probably that was, it happened so quickly. Things happened so fast and all over the country. And we had so many migrant workers that it was difficult to control, difficult to actually formulate a rule or a law for them, or maybe even difficult to handle that situation at that particular moment when there were so many other pressing issues which were there. So definitely this also was a legal issue. They were restricted at places. They could not go to some places. Some people walked long ways, then some of them were harbored in very shabby kind of places where food was not being made available to them. This was all because of constraints that we have. Not because we wanted to treat anybody like this, the country wanted to treat anybody like this, but then that was the, maximum we could do for them during that time, when it all happened so quickly, so fast, without even anticipating what would happen next. Definitely these also were legal issues for the living. Quarantine and shelter. We did not initially realize or know that we would be actually quarantining, putting people into quarantine in this huge numbers. So to erect or construct quarantine areas and shelters, some very big hotels were taken at some places. Some places, some tents were erected. Some school buildings were taken. Temples were taken. And sometimes even old dilapidated buildings were taken for quarantine. Now, there was no discrimination as to who would be quarantined where as per the law. But yes, some discrimination did happen. Also, in smaller places, we had smaller quarantine shelters. In bigger cities, metropolitan cities, big hotels were there, so they were taken. So now there was a discrepancy there too. Insurance. Now, after everything happened, there were people were treated for COVID. Uh, People were treated for COVID. Then COVID deaths also occurred. Many people had insurance, access to insurance. They would be paid through the insurance. But we doctors, we healthcare workers did not actually know what to write as the possible cause of death. So a person who was treated for COVID, or maybe he was treated as a complication of COVID, subsequently died or got discharged, we wrote, maybe many of us wrote just maybe pneumonia, death due to pneumonia, or maybe death due to some other cause, without mentioning COVID. Somewhere we wrote complication of COVID. In some places we wrote cause of death, COVID pneumonia following COVID-19. Now, insurance companies had many reasons to actually not part with the insurance amount or the promised amount to the victims. So all these things happened because we had not thought about what uniformly we could write as the cause of death or as the disease itself for which the patient was being treated. Then slowly, as these cases started rising, insurance companies did not pay. People started crying. People started saying that, okay, my insurance company is not paying because COVID is not written. Then the physicians, the doctors, the hospitals thought that the word COVID-19 has to be put in the cause of death certificates or even the discharge certificate, so that people can get access to their insurance money, which is actually a fact which should happen. But then we as doctors are very strict about mentioning the cause of death or even the disease which is there, without even mentioning COVID at times. So a lot of legal issues occurred during especially the first phase of COVID. In towards the second phase, things became better. There were a lot of workplace issues. New things started, like workplace or working from home. You can see this cartoon here. This is your pilot speaking. I'm working from home today. Now just see the look at the expression of the people sitting in the aircraft. I mean, there were a lot of jokes. My maid said, from tomorrow, I'm going to work from home. On the lighter side, one of my friends who was coming from a late night party, we had a late night party and my friend was coming. So I told my friend, see, your wife is going to surely get angry with you today because you are already so late. And madam usually gets angry when you reach home late. He said, no, 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 no. Don't worry. Now when I reach home, she will quietly go into the study room, switch on the computer, send me a link, and start her online lecture. So it doesn't matter for me now. So that was on the lighter side. But yes, a lot of workplace issues also were there. There were employer responsibilities. The government, most of the states, the government said that, okay, the employers should be given their salaries out of compassion, even if they are not coming to office, even if there is a lockdown, even if the office is closed, some amount of as monetary assistance should be given to them in the form of salary, whatever salary. But in many places, actually, it did not happen. Where would the poor employer get that amount from? So there were a lot of legal issues. This could not have been, I mean, put into a law as such. Then the matter of leaves. Some people were asked to take, some employees were asked to take leave from their office, from their leave account. Some were given special leaves, some were given half pay leaves, some were not paid at all, and in some places, full payment of uh, the days when they did not come to office was also given. So there was no uniformity. Similar thing happened with work from home. Some people worked from home, some people did not. So the salaries also, were given or distributed accordingly. Entry into workplaces required a lot of legal formalities. You have to give a declaration in some places that I am not suffering from any symptoms or signs of COVID. Uh, then there were a lot of privacy issues also in workplaces where you had to give data of all your family members regarding they are suffering from any disease or not, where they were at present, how they are staying separately or with you. So all those privacy things were also there. Supply chain distribution also had a lot of legal issues were involved there. When we talked of essential and non-essential commodities. Now, essential commodities and non-essential commodities have been classified by the governments. When you talk of petrol or diesel or fuel, yes, essential commodity. When you talk of vegetables and fruits, essential commodity. What about a barber shop? We immediately say it is non-essential. But if the lockdown continues for a long time, how long a beard I would be growing actually, and how inconvenient it would be. So then vehicles were allowed during the lockdowns. Ambulances were allowed in some places. Those vehicles bringing in food stuff were allowed. Think of a bullock cart carrying wheat. Should it be allowed or not allowed? It was at the discretion of the local people who are manning it. Should a plumber be allowed to go in? Should the milkman come home or not? Should your maid or say a sweeper be allowed to come inside or travel? Air travel sometimes is very, very essential. Now we say it is a very essential thing to have air traffic moving, but then flights were cancelled. So many places we were confused, and the confusion was everywhere because the things happened so fast. So there were a lot of legal issues when we said, why in the neighboring city this and this have been allowed, why not in my city? But then things could have been different. We did not think that way, maybe. So there could be so many reasons. COVID orphans. Now, recently, the government has promised to help the COVID orphans, COVID-19 orphans. But many times, the death certificates of the parents were so misleading, which were especially given initially, that whether to consider these orphans as COVID orphans or not becomes an issue. In some places, there were no death certificates. Some people died at home. Some people died while traveling only. Then in poorer, illiterate and poor rural areas, there was no death certificate for them, but the orphans are still moving around. Now, what to do with them? Then again, the question of whether they are single orphans or double orphans, that is both parents. Should we give them separate help if it's a single orphan? Should you give them more support if it's a double orphan? So all those things have to be legally defined, described, and we need to have a uniform law of identifying and helping these orphans. The government is doing a good job now thinking about all these things, but yes, this is a major legal issue in our country. Coming to some ethical issues, because time is short, I think I need to run through. Coming to some ethical issues, we had to create ICUs outside ICUs. There was some COVID ICU, we called it COVID ICU. Some place we called it a step down ICU. Then we made makeshift ICUs in tents, other buildings, general wards. So all kinds of things happened, which when we think of an ICU, we think of this picture on top here, this picture. But what actually happened, we called ICUs, were something like this, in the ward, in tents, etc. Wherever we could make arrangement of a ventilator or some kind of non-invasive ventilation, even we started calling it ICU. But then again, the question of manpower came in, expertise came in. There were so many things. Where do we get all that manpower from? Where do we get all that expertise from? So whoever had even the slightest knowledge and could help had to pitch in. In some places, we made it mandatory that you cannot refuse to work. In some places, people themselves volunteered to come in, especially healthcare workers. They did a wonderful job. They did come in and they did keep with the ethics of the profession. Trainings. I, as a person of forensic medicine and toxicology, am not trained in or not expected to be trained in putting in or maybe intubating a person and putting him on a ventilator. But then when there was no manpower, maybe I'll have to pitch in and help and try to save life because I am a doctor. In normal days, I would never do that. Maybe a case could be instituted against me that not being qualified, I attempted all this. But here in COVID times, we had to do all this. So trained manpower was a problem. There were a lot of crash courses because we had a new disease to manage and lots and lots of critically ill people, patients started coming in. So you must have come across these kinds of things. 1 hour webinar on how to manage a COVID or set up and manage a COVID hospital. How can you manage, learn to manage and set up a COVID hospital in just 1 hour? Then again, COVID patient care management, including intubation training module, 8 to 9 p.m. in the evening on such and such date. There is a webinar on this. How can you train somebody online in just 1 hour in the evening to actually manage COVID patients? COVID patients with all comorbidities and this and that and the other, they are even worse and more difficult than the normal regular patient. And this module will include training on intubation also online. So how is it possible? But yes, we had to do with it because something is better than nothing. And people did pitch in and did a wonderful job. So these are some ethical issues. Triage issues. Here it was like first come, first served in a COVID hospital. The main kind of triage was this. Anybody who needed oxygen had to come to the hospital, and then the hospital will accommodate only those many patients. I mean, on a first come, first served basis. The rest had to be turned away. Hospitals could not do anything about it, even the big hospitals. So this was again pathetic. This is an ethical issue, but I mean, the country could not help because things happened so fast and in such huge numbers that things did not work very well, probably. We did the best we could. Transfer of patients due to non-availability of beds. In many cases, the golden period was lost and there was confusion. There were people running around in ambulances throughout the night looking for a bed in a hospital, but they did not get a bed. I mean, even that kind of a thing happened, but what to do? All these are some ethical issues which we must think of. Another ethical issue which I was always pained to see as a nodal officer was the patients were separated from their loved ones, or the loved ones were separated from the relatives, were separated from the patients. Protocols for the attendance of patients or their relatives was not in place, was not established because we did not think of it that seriously. So, like uniformity as to whether an attendant should be allowed, if allowed, for how long, what protection it should take, should there be prophylaxis for him or not? I mean, these kinds of things which we probably did not think of, or maybe we thought of, but we could not do much during those days. This was painful. It was a very painful ethical issue. Sorry. End of life issues. I heard some of my non-medical friends asking me that, is it true, doctor, that uh, COVID patients, the doctors are saying that don't even go near them to resuscitate them. Don't even do a CPR on them because you will be infected and you will die. So is it true that doctors are not resuscitating, not doing anything if a patient is about to die? I said, see, it is not true. Doctors are doing, I mean, they're jumping out of their safety enclosures to save patients. And a doctor can never do without doing a CPR on a patient who actually needs it. Then comes the wills and wishes of the near and dear ones of the other dying patient. Very many times we could not actually think about the wills and wishes of the dying person. Even, dead body viewing. Initially, there was such a fright, such a fear of being in contact with the dead body. Although now we know that the dead body does not sneeze, does not breathe, does not cough, and does not probably uh, release the COVID virus as well as a living person. But then the relatives, poor relatives, they were just allowed to have a glimpse of the dead body at times. And sometimes even that was not there. All of you have seen this bioscope, which in our childhood days, we used to have in the form of cinema. There was a box into which we used to look in and see the animated cinema uh, inside the bioscope screen. The youngsters would not have seen this, I'm sure. So viewing their near and dear ones was something like viewing into a bioscope screen only. They could not touch, they could not hug, they could not kiss, they could not embrace, they could not cry over the chest of their near and dear ones. All these were ethical issues which are perturbing actually. Then healthcare workers themselves. There were a lot of psychological issues. Many people needed psychological counseling after what they saw, what they felt, what they did, and what they experienced. Then at the same time, exposure to occupational hazards also were there. So these were again some ethical issues. They could also be legal issues, but I would consider them more as ethical issues which we need to think about. Our ethics committees were not geared up for the new challenges. Suddenly we realized that, oh, our ethics committee also should be involved. And how to involve them? They themselves didn't know. We had no answer for them. But then we said, no, 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 no. Ethics committee should pitch in, and they have a great, great, great role to play. But then they were actually pitched in the middle of everything. So they were not geared up for this new challenge. Although now most of the ethics committees and most of the hospitals have actually understood the situation and are now doing a pretty good job. But again, we need to think about all this. Do we need a separate ethics committee for pandemics like this? So under the prevailing circumstances, the best that could have been done was done. I have that feeling that the best that could have been done was done in such a short time. And when the problem came in like a tsunami, when I was asked by my authorities that should we give your name as the nodal officer for COVID, I said, fine, how does it matter? 10-15 days, it doesn't matter. Just the name going there. Now it is 1.5, 2 years. I don't know how many more years it would continue. And one has to be awake day and night to handle the COVID situation. And it's continuing. So challenges were many. Shortcomings were many. Improvements warranted were many. They still persist. And I mean, as time passes, maybe we can be ethically stronger and legally also stronger when it comes to ethics. So I would just conclude by saying that every thought, every small innovation in this field, and every tiny discussion that we make regarding this will definitely make a difference for the future. So just think about it. I've just given you some food for thought. Thank you, Dr. Sudeepa. Thank you, viewers, listeners, and thank you for your patience. Thank you, MKCG Medical College. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an overwhelming speech. Now, I request Dr. Abanita Sethi to come and moderate the scientific session just concluded by Sanjay, sir. Please, Sanju, Abanita.
A very good morning to all of you connected here. First of all, I'm thankful to Dr. Sudeepa Das. I'm thankful to Dr. Sudeepa Das for giving me the opportunity to moderate this session, which is very nicely presented by Dr. Sanjay Das, sir. I thank Dr. Sanjay Das for such a stimulating speech and a wonderful deliberation. Sir, your take on the topic was a very great learning experience, and It was a very educative and informative, and mainly the pictures you had given in your slide was just very presentable, and it imprinted all the incidents and in our mind. And it was also an eye opener for the various policymakers and stakeholders like doctors and also policymakers, so that it can be used for creating certain policies for improvement if further the pandemic continues. So it was very informative and learning experience. So I'd like to take up one question that was given by Dr. Prafulla Chandragowda in the chat box. That is whether COVID test can be conducted on the disease of suspected COVID or SARI patients. And sir, kindly, will you please elaborate if there is any government? And another question from Gopavandhu Behra, that it was whether there is any government guidelines for this COVID test. So can you please explain?
Okay, COVID test for the dead, you mean, isn't it? But I think COVID for the dead is purely, we've got another speaker, Dr. Tapas Bose sir is purely going to talk about it. He may include it in his talk. Otherwise, we can take up this question later also. But maybe he'll include it in his talk. Although there are guidelines for this, but I don't know if Dr. Bose is going to talk about it. If he doesn't, we can take up this question again, I think, later on.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So I like to thank you, sir, and for your yearning for your participation in future. Wishing you a great health. Thank you very much. One second. Over to, I'll request Professor next speaker and continue the webinar.
Sachi sir. Now, I would like to have our very own beloved Professor Dr. Sachidananda Mohanty, popularly known to all over the state as Sachi Sir, the man with a steely grit and determination, the man who has spearheaded the various innovative and welcoming changes working round the clock 24/7 and make AIIMS Bhubaneswar shine bright amongst the premier health institutions. I invite you to share a few words of wisdom in order to sail out smoothly out of this pandemic, how to improvise and devise ways and roadmap to defeat and combat the war against this virus. Sir, please do the honors.
Thank you, Dr. Sudipa. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible.
Okay. I was going through the topics of Dr. Das. Mr. Upadhyay also, he has, deliberated his speech wonderfully well. Followed by Sanjay Das. We always keen to hear him wherever he speaks. I am an ardent follower of Dr. Das. I send everyday messages, but I don't get reply. Even then, I never get fed up. Dr. Upadhyay, he has told many things about the cyber crimes. Before going to give my reactions to these two great speakers, let me go to the theme: impact of COVID-19 pandemic on crime, medical legal aspects, support and succor, SUCCOUR. And see, yesterday, if you remember, I talked to you. I was thinking regarding this, the wisdom, the words of wisdom. So these are the two things. It's very difficult to, it was follow. So I had to go through the net and saw that words of wisdom means the words of a wise person. And the sukar is some sort of helping. You know, I never knew that you were born in Los Angeles. Just came to know. Huge words, very difficult to answer. Because first time, no, I was a little confused. In confusion, I asked Kiran, then you, then I thought, let me hear the two speakers, then I'll wind up. Having said this, and the time also is 10 minutes. So having said this, I was just in the morning, I came and told one of my hospital administration SR, this is the topic, what should I say? Then he said, he brought out a few internet papers also. And regarding Sanjay Das and Mr. Upadhyaya, all of us, we heard both of them excellently, I mean, did their presentation. And one more excellent professor whom we respect all the time, he is also coming up the next session, Professor T.K. Bose. We have highest regards for him. I will be definitely watching his, the presentation. He is a very good speaker, good forensic man. We have all the regards for him, followed by Sanjukta Das. Of course, Brajo is the right person to give his words of wisdom. Honestly speaking, I have left teaching almost 4 years before, but that was one of my passion. But nowadays I am into administration, which is very, very tough. So Manoj here has given me, the chance of teaching to students once or twice. So let us go back to analyze whatever has been taught regarding the COVID-19. See, there was one Bagdonavic of 2021, probably in the month of May. She or he, I do not know. They have published one article. They said, is the role of forensic medicine in COVID-19 pandemic underestimated? I will leave this to all the forensic people, those who are present, mostly 100. 100 is a good number. Today is also an auspicious day. One of my friends is celebrating birthday at SCB Medical College.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Hopefully all forensic men, the police person, they have left. So today is her birthday. I never miss. I still remember it. MKCG we celebrated with her mother also. So having said this, that the forensic medicine in COVID-19 pandemic underestimated, I would say yes. I would definitely blame the administration or the people, those who are at the tip. But I will also say, to a certain extent, we are also responsible for this. Why I am telling is, I would like to put a questions to all of the learned people here. How many of our institutes, they came forward to go for autopsy of COVID positive cases? Dr. Das has told the doctors, they give all sorts of care. They never hesitate in providing, resuscitation, whatever, CPR. They are doing their best. But at some point of time, don't you think that we were, our job was to go ahead with the autopsy, barring few institutes like AIMS, Bhopal, and one more institute or 2, 3. Rest of the institutes, they kept mum. But what what I feel is our dissection would have been an eye opener for the treatment, for the outcome of COVID. Somewhere we need to blame ourselves. We need to introspect ourselves also. There was also one global analysis of impact of COVID-19, stay-at-home restriction on crime by human behavior, 2020. They have said because of these restrictions at home, so many crimes, it has erupted, cropped up. The crimes may be as low as argument, to anxiety, to frustration, to violence. And violence, as you know, violence in the form of child maltreatment, domestic violence, many violences, I mean, they took place within the four walls of the home or household. So it has pros and cons. It has good and bad effects. The criminal motivation was increased because of home isolation. And that has resulted the crime against the loved ones. See, if you analyze the loved ones, they are always neglected. Crimes are more against the loved ones. So that has happened in COVID. And who knows better than me? Long back last year, I received one WhatsApp message from my son when he was in AIMS hospital. He wrote, "Let's move to England. Let us not stay here." So the impact or the crisis which we went through, probably nobody knows it. This is the attitude and behavior of the public. When a patient of COVID, he was the second COVID patient of the state. We suffered a lot because of the COVID. I, being the MS of AIMS, I was marginalized. As you know, it has gone up to USA, UK, anywhere. People, they thought I have done a crime. Yes, I have done a crime because I followed the crime, followed the rules and regulations. So COVID has taught me many things. It is also said that the greatest lessons are usually learned from the worst times and the worst mistakes. As Sanjay Das has already told, the first instance of COVID, we were not prepared. But yes, we were prepared for the second instance, and we are preparing for the third one as well. But as you know, he is also the MS. You know, many people are into administration here in this group. You get finer and finer because of your experience, because of your age. So we are now in AIMS doing a lot of work for the COVID people. Now, if I give an example, what our institute is doing, because at the end of my, Dr. Sudipa was introducing me, he told that they have done a lot of work in COVID pandemic and all those things. But then, as you know, since last 2 years, we are dealing with COVID, and we are damn satisfied with our profession. We have given our best to the people. And for your information, we have the highest number of COVID patients as of now. The reason being, we are giving our best treatment, and people from other hospitals, they are coming to us. So they have faith on us. The sole reason being, we try to give them best, and they are damn satisfied with our service. I would like to tell few things. Of course, I think I have been given 10 minutes. Then yesterday while talking, Sudipa told Geeta will be there, so you can extend your talk by another 5 more minutes. So see, it is not only the service for which we are popular here at AIIMS Bhubaneswar. We also dedicated our service. As you know, during COVID also, people died more because of non-COVID. We are always concentrating on COVID. Many people also, they died more because of the non-COVID disease, especially the cancers. We gave more importance to COVID people and neglected, the non-COVID cases. But we were very firm, and we provided our treatment for non-COVID also through telemedicine, and we have developed our own Swasthya app. So if you go through the data, we have provided all sorts of treatment, because it's not exactly a COVID hospital, exclusive COVID hospital. It is a COVID ward. We have converted some portion of the hospital into COVID ward where we provided COVID treatment. So we have developed our own Swasthya app, AIIMS Bhubaneswar Swasthya app, and through those two things, although we have stopped our OPD of late, we were providing treatment, and as and when required, the COVID people or the non-COVID cases, they were being called to, and they were getting admitted also after doing an RT-PCR test. As you know, you people are much more experienced. Those are, there are suspect wards, then positive, negative wards. So those things are always there. In addition to that, we have introduced 4 helplines only for the treatment or for the COVID cases. We have a control room which provides service 24/7. We have a 24/7 helpline service only to talk to the COVID people and their relatives regarding bed availability, regarding ICU availability. We have a helpline only to deal with psychological cases also. The COVID has, as one of the slide I was looking, going through Dr. Sanjay Das' slide, it is written that the 50% of the mental disorder starts at the age of 14 and 2/3 at the age of 20. So the young adults, they were kept inside the house. You can think of the outcome. Many psychological, the psychiatric disorders they have developed. So we have exclusively set up a cell where people can call, people can come also. So that was one of the services we have provided. In addition to that, we have also started telenursing services, relating to any nursing care. We have started one service, and we have also started one COVID desk where people can talk to them directly, people can come there directly, people will screen them. If required, they will admit, and if required, they'll be sent off from there itself with all the prescriptions. So lot of efforts were being made by us to tackle not only the COVID, but also non-COVID cases, which is very, very important. People always, they forget to mention about the non-COVID cases in COVID areas or areas. So that we have tried to taken care of, because of which we are also, as you know, since over the 3 to 4 years, we are improving further. Now it is one of the top 10 institute of the entire country. We are coming at the 7th rank. So a lot of work has been done by AIIMS, but lot more to be done. And how lot more to be done? That is the reason why I am sitting here. I am sitting here to learn from all the people so that I will take this knowledge from you people and I will implement this same at my institute so that this will come up in a big way. Maybe our position will go up to 2 or 3 or 4. We are dreaming of that. So my 10 minutes is over. Thank you for the organizers. Geeta had done a lot of work in Cuttack. Now Sudipa was sleeping. She has woken up. That too in a big way. Getting all big shots. It is my pleasure to be with you all. Thank you so much, Sudipa, and all of you, my students and the respected the colleagues and the juniors. Thank you for giving me an opportunity, and all the speakers, whomsoever you have chosen, they are the best one in our field. Thank you so much. Thank you. Madam, your mic is
Thank you once again, sir, for your wonderful words, spreading the words of wisdom, and so fabulously having you with here and joining us with here was really wonderful. Thank you once again, very sincerely. Well, he is a distinguished academician, a staunch forensician, and an exemplary orator par excellence. He had several stints in working in different capacities in West Bengal. He is the head of the department currently of forensic medicine in Jagannath Gupta Institute of Medical Sciences. He was the president in section of medical sciences in the prestigious Indian Science Congress IN 2009-10. He had been a resource person in different workshops organized by the Indian Medical Association, Institute of Health IIM Joka, Academic Staff College UGC, Indian Institute of Social Welfare and Business Management. He also has the honor of delivering prestigious orations at BC Bose Memorial Oration, Kolkata, JB Mukherjee Memorial Oration in IFM, Apurva Nandi Memorial Oration, and of late, I. Bhushan Rao Memorial Oration in the National Conference at SCB Medical College, Cuttack. He also has won the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Indian Association of Medical Legal Experts. I welcome you, sir, to join us with you by our topic, medical legal aspects of emerging issues while handling the dead bodies during COVID-19 outbreak. The end of your scientific session will be moderated by Dr. Manoj Kumar Hansda, Associate Professor of FMT MKCC Medical College, Barampur, in our department. Welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Very good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are very much audible, sir. Please carry on.
The problem is I cannot log in through my laptop, and I have already informed that. So my presentation has to be uploaded by some of you.
So we are managing the technical glitches here as best as we can, and we are trying to get the screen presentation from our end.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, you can continue, sir.
ठीक sure. हम जरूर आ सकते कोई दिक्कत नहीं.
Sir, it's already it is started. The slides are already been shown on the screen here. You can start your deliberation, sir.
Okay, fine. Just a phone call came. So, very good afternoon to all of you. We are running late, so without wasting any further time. My first submission is it is really a Herculean task to talk after Professor Sanjay Das, because I was a keen fan of all his deliberation and everything is very much excellent. Please, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, earlier on. Earlier on, we missed one slide. This is third. Second slide, please. There is a problem. No. We are Just move backwards. Earlier one. Right. Thank you. So start with the word that the world is temporarily closed. So we, all of us are facing problems due to this COVID from last year, though it is COVID-19, but we are feeling it from March 2020. I have missed several things due to COVID. The first one is, of course, cannot going physically to enjoy Barampur and other places, area that is already planned and finalized, and many other things. Anyway, the most greatest loss of me is loss of my mentor, Professor Rabindra Basu. He died due to COVID today only in last year. So today is just 1 year completed. In the morning, I'm thinking about him, and he has got a very close relation with Odisha, and paying respect to all the COVID martyrs, and paying more respect to the COVID warriors, knowing fully well the badness of the disease. They are fighting 24/7. Next, please. So what are the objectives today? At the end of this presentation, we should understand the SOP, that is a specific. We shall understand. Okay. Understand the SOP for handling COVID-19 dead bodies, how to remove the body from the isolation room and area, what are the environmental cleaning and disinfection and handling of dead body in mortuary, the basic principle of autopsy on COVID-19 dead bodies, transportation of dead bodies, and last and at the end, what we do in the crematorium or burial ground. All of this data is based on the data given by the Government of India as well as the World Health Organization and all the available data. Okay, so let us first, next slide. So it is a statistics. There is a rumor saying that three things are bad, very bad, or lie, damn lie, and statistics. So statistically, it is showing the current estimate. Already it has been told it is quite high, but it has been told by a lot of people that actual data is 10 times more minimum. So it may be more than that, because a lot of people are not doing the test, and a lot of deaths are not reported as a death of COVID. Just yesterday, we have got PG examination in RG Medical College, and one professor head of RIMS came, Mira, and she told that as a rule, they are doing rapid antigen test on dead bodies. This question came in the morning. As a rule, they are doing, for all dead bodies, they are doing rapid antigen test in the mortuary itself. And it is alarmingly high. Almost all the cases are positive. Though even the next of kin or nobody knows the patient is positive or not. Anyway, there are some fallacy in rat test and other things, and it is not possible to do a RT-PCR always. So we can find out the dimension. There are a lot of people who don't know they have got COVID-19, moving like normal person, but having the infection and asymptomatic, and they are spreading the disease like anything. So already first and second wave, somehow still we are alive, but we don't know what will happen in third wave. Next. Next slide, please. Okay, so let us come to the key facts. The main driver of transmission is through droplets. Earlier one. Through droplets, so it can pass. Earlier, only problem of COVID-19 is there is constantly contradicting theories come up. It was the initial theory, that is droplet transmission. Then it has been changed to no, it may be airborne. Sometimes it may be something like that. So all these things are conflicting and having problem. Okay, so but still we believe that the main transmission is through droplets, and there is unlikely to be transmission from a dead body, because dead body has no power to transmit the droplets through coughing, sneezing, or talking, or by any other means. But there is chance of transmission, not through droplets, those who are doing autopsy or those who are handling the bodies, but infection from a dead body to health workers or family members. But if you follow a simple standard procedure while handling the body, it will not happen. Only the lungs of the dead COVID patients, if handled during an autopsy. Okay. Next. Next one. Okay, next one please. I'm just starting. Talk about the standard while handling. So what are the standard? Everyone knows now. Though it was an age-old phenomenon. Just remember, we are the aged person. At the childhood, our parents used to talk about these things frequently. Wash your hand before taking food. So hand hygiene and washing of the hand, it is been taught to all the doctors and mostly health workers in the school level, that how to wash your hand properly. There is a technique. Number two, this personal protective equipment, it came later. That is water resistant apron, gloves, mask, eyewear, and safe handling of sharp material. It is also a standard operative procedure while handling the infectious thing like HIV. Disinfect bag housing dead body, instrument and device used on the patient. So anything used has to be disinfected, and disinfect linen, clean and disinfected environmental side. So basic theme is disinfect everything, your body, your hand. You protect yourself from entry of the next one, from entry of the virus by personal protective gear, and last but not the least is disinfected all the things that comes in contact with the dead body. Next. So these require training. Training in infection and prevention control is now a part and parcel of hospital management, and all the hospitals, the staffs are given periodical training about that. Okay. So who are to be given priority in training? The staff identified to handle dead body in the isolation area, the persons who are working in mortuary, the person who are carrying dead body in ambulance, and workers at crematorium and burial. So these are the Am I unmuted? I not sure. Anyway, so workers in the crematorium, four category of staff has to be trained. Next. So the problem comes about handling of the dead body, that whether it is COVID positive or not. What reason? We want the medical certification of cause of death or death certificate. But please remember that death certificate, the writing of COVID, it may be there, it may not be there, it should be there. Because we know primary and secondary COVID, there is pneumonia, COVID, whatever may be. But unfortunately, most of the cases are not tested due to some reason, particularly in some state. They are trying to suppress the number of the declaring a person COVID due to many reasons. So for that reason, who are already declared branded case, there is no question in that. But as a rule, just like HIV, the same thing should be applied here, that all dead bodies should be thought of COVID positive unless proved otherwise. Okay. So the test is not done in most of the cases, areas. So we let, what is the problem in having the safety? So safety must be there. Presuming everything is bad, let us be safe. Okay. Not having all the rules, but some of the rules, save yourself is a good thing. Next one. So let us start one by one. First, removal of dead body from the isolation room or area where, say, COVID ICU or COVID ward or somebody died. Then healthcare workers attending to the dead body should perform hand hygiene, proper use of PPE. PPE is very important, is docking and undocking. Wearing is something, but after wearing, throwing anywhere, or during wearing, touching it with the hand is dangerous. Under no circumstance should the healthcare worker working in COVID-19 carry dead body to the mortuaries. There should be separate staff that who will working there, because they are constant in touch of the patient, and who will carry the dead body to the mortuary. All tubes, drain and catheter on the dead body should be removed and destroyed. Any punctured holes or wounds should be disinfected with 1% sodium hypochlorite solution and dressed with impermeable material. Impermeable means there should not be any leakage of any fluid. Apply caution while handling sharp, such as intravenous catheter and other sharp device. They should be disposed into a specific container meant for that. Next slide, please. Now, the body has been removed from the isolation room area. Then plug out the nasal orifice of the dead body to prevent leakage of, plug in. All the body opening should be plugged to prevent any body fluid decrease, because body fluid is a carrier. And if the family of the patient wish to view the body at the time of removal from isolation ward, they may be allowed to do with the application of standard precautions. Normally it is not done, but as already it has been told that patient relatives are developing psychological problems. Starting from the beginning, I am just telling here that when Professor Ravindra Bose died last year today, we are, in spite of repeated attempts, being doctor, we are not able to see the dead body because they have told that it is to be packed and sealed in a black plastic. Face cannot be opened, and at the dead of the night, given to some closed band. So that is the problem. So now it is not so much strict. Now the rules are little changed. Place the dead body in leak-proof plastic body bag, decontaminate with 1% hypochlorite, wrapped with a mortuary sheet or sheet provided by the family member, mark COVID-19 on external, and handed over to relatives if rule permits. If it is not permitted in my state, then it is taken to mortuary. So next one. Next one is all used soil linen should be handled with standard precautions, put in biohazard bag, and the outer surface of the bag disinfected with 1% sodium hypochlorite solution. Used equipment should be autoclaved or decontaminated with disinfectant solutions in accordance with established infection prevention control practice. All medical waste must be handled and disposed in accordance with the biomedical waste management rule. There is clean-cut rule prior to COVID about the biomedical waste disposal. The health staff who handle the body will remove the PPE and will perform and hygiene, provided counseling to the family members and respect their sentiment, because they are in bereaved condition. Their sentiment has to be respected. Next. Now, environmental cleaning and disinfection, I've already told that it can be in the environment also. So all surface of the isolation area, floor, bed, railing, side table, intravenous stand should be wiped with 1% sodium hypochlorite solution. It is an excellent solution to kill all the virus. Allow a contact time of 30 minutes and then allow to dry. Only problem is it is to be dry and now, but one thing is important to tell here that sodium hypochlorite spray now available in the market, it is very dangerous. It can cause a lot of harm than good. Okay, be a little careful about that. Next one. Now the body has come to mortuary, how to handle it. Mortuary staff handling COVID-19 dead body should observe standard precautions. Precaution is same everywhere. Dead body should be stored in cool chamber, maintained at approximately 4 degrees centigrade. A separate cool chamber cabinet should be allotted for COVID-19 bodies. Better, if it is possible, then just like hospital and COVID ward should have got separation or demarcation. Mortuary should have demarcation of COVID positive cooler and non-COVID positive. The mortuary must be clean. Environmental surface, instrument, and transport. Trolley should be properly disinfected with 1% hypochlorite solution. After removing the body, the chamber door, handle, and floor, sodium hypochlorite 1% is used. And please remember that embalming of dead body should not be allowed. This body cannot be donated for academic purpose. This body cannot be embalmed. Okay, because there is a chance of spreading of infection. Next. Now let us categorize the case categorization of dead bodies. Categorization according to case risk assessment or dealing with case. Accordingly, the key in minimizing the possibility of spread of infection. According to the COVID-19 infective status, dead bodies brought for medical autopsy can be categorized as below. Number I've already told, A is confirmed case with nucleic acid positive by RT-PCR positive, or high homology for COVID-19 infection by viral gene sequencing, and it is documented. Number 2 is suspected case. This is having at least one of the epidemiological features and 2 clinical features or 3 clinical features of COVID-19. Epidemiological history from a COVID area 14 days prior to the onset of symptom. Though test is not done or test may be negative also. So third one, travel history or residence in area declared COVID-19 hotspot. So persons coming from that area. Next, contact with COVID-19 infected cases like healthcare workers or nurses in home taking care of COVID-19 patient. Exposure to patients with fever or respiratory symptom in COVID-19 hotspot. And last but not the least, Sanjay has talked about migrant labor, that is evidence of clustering. So what are the clinical features which should be counted? I've already told there are 4 features are given. Any 3 is sufficient to stamp as COVID positive. Clinical features are fever and or respiratory symptom in early onset, total WBC count normal or decreased, and lymphocyte count decreased. Imaging that next one, please. Sorry, next one. Next one. I've already told these things. Next. Yeah. So clinical features. Okay, please earlier one. So we have given the clinical features. 4 features to be looked for. Any 3 will qualify to be a case of COVID. Fever and or respiratory symptom in early onset, total WBC count normal or decreased, lymphocyte count decreased. Imaging characteristic of COVID-19 as small patchy shadow and interstitial change, especially in lateral lung, ground dust, opacity and infiltrates were seen subsequently in bilateral lungs. Lungs consolidation in severe cases. Asymptomatic infected person, patients in incubation period, unidentified dead bodies and cases with negative result may not meet the diagnostic criteria for suspected case, but should be treated as suspected COVID-19 death case, as false negative result is also not uncommon. Next one. Now we shall come to the autopsy on COVID-19 dead body. Nowadays in Calcutta, in Arjikar Medical College, they have started pathological autopsy. Mainly today, one case is going on. To know any further things, a lot of new things are coming. Paper will be published soon. It is a nodal center for pathological autopsy of COVID-19 dead bodies. So what are the rules? First is autopsy to be avoided. If at all it is required, it should be done. It cannot be done as a routine process. So autopsy has to be performed for special reason, like homicide or some other thing, it must be done. Then following infection prevention control measures should be adopted. The team should be well trained in infection prevention control measures. The number of forensic experts and support staff in the autopsy room should be limited. So gathering should be minimized. The team should use full complement of PPE, that is cover everything, head cover, shoe cover, N95 mask, goggles, face shield, and round-ended scissor should be used. Next. PM40 or any other heavy-duty blade with blunted point to be reduced to reduce break injury. So blunt blades are used. Only one body cavity at a time should be dissected. Unfixed organ must be held firm on the table and sliced with a sponge. Care should be taken to protect the hand. Negative pressure to be maintained in the mortuary. An oscillator saw with suction extraction of the bone, aerosol into a removable chamber should be used for sawing the skull. Otherwise, a hand saw with a chain small gloves may be used. Reduce aerosol generation during autopsy using appropriate techniques, especially with handling the lung tissue. Next. So let us come to ethical aspect a little of forensic autopsy. Though next, already Sanjay has told, it is a legal procedure and we have to do it. The body is in the custody of police and no consent is required from relatives for conduction of autopsy. All the confidentiality is same. While handling over the dead body, relatives may be counseled by the doctor regarding any apprehensions about the cremation or burial of ground. Though the guidelines do not cover the aspect of pathological autopsy, the ethical concern involved in research with COVID-19 sample. Next. Any research study should be conducted after the proper clinical ethical clearance. It is a same rule everywhere. The informed consent and other things are there, and doctor, mortuary technician, and mortuary staff are exposed to potential high and dangerous health risks. So they must take proper precaution, and institutional research and ethical committee must give clearance. Next. Proper informed written consent to be obtained from next of kin, observing national ethical guideline. The autopsy proceeding under such circumstances done by pathologists. It's a teamwork, not by only forensic people. It is a pathological autopsy, and faculties of Department of Forensic Medicine can be utilized for obtaining specimen of internal organ as per the interdepartmental working protocol. Next. All the prescribed infection control measures for dealing with the dead body with COVID-19 infection should be followed. Tissue processing and storage facility of different departments should be identified, which can be strictly adhered with the safety guideline for preventing the spread of COVID-19 infection control practice and as per the interdepartmental working protocol or in the practice in the hospital. Next. The autopsy procedure should be strictly limited to the scope of consent obtained, which is absolutely necessary for research work and collection and storage. It is already discussed. And why we are calling, how to store it, all there is. And more importantly, it must be anonymized because identity should not be there. And limited study has been done on postmortem sample of patient. Very small amount of autopsy has been done. It should be more. Next. Whatever studies has been done. Next one. It has been indicated that the lung tissue manifests significant pathology, alveolar exudative and interstitial inflammation, proliferation of alveolar epithelium, and formation of hyaline membrane. Most of the pathological studies are in consensus with the clinical feature and clinical course of the disease in general, but the disease gives pathological damage at organ like heart, liver, brain, kidney, vessel, and other organs. So a dedicated co-research group should now be created comprising of pathology, microbiology, biomedical research, anatomy, forensic medicine, and other interested clinical department to assess the resource, feasibility, infrastructure, because we know till now very little about the virus as well as the, about the vaccine. There are a lot of confusions. Next one. Next, please. So autopsy on COVID-19 continuing, needle should not be received after fluid sampling. Needle and syringe should be placed in sharp bucket after the procedure. Body should be disinfected with 1% sodium hypochlorite placed in a body bag, the exterior of which can be decontaminated with 1% sodium hypochlorite. The body therefore can be shown to the relative for last view and showing respect. Autopsy table to be disinfected as per standard protocol. Next. I've given 20 minutes. I think it's already over. Next. Transportation. The body is secured in a body bag, should not leak anything earlier one. Exterior of which is decontaminated, poses no additional risk to the staff transporting the dead body. The personal handling of the dead body may follow standard precaution, surgical mask, glove, the vehicle after the transfer of the body to the cremation or burial site and will be decontaminated with 1% sodium hypochlorite. Next. Next, at the crematorium or burial ground. The crematorium or burial grounds should be sensitized that COVID-19 does not pose an additionally risk, but it is not possible. Everywhere there is a lot of trouble. Now in Calcutta, there are completely separated COVID-19 crematorium. That is not only for COVID bodies in separate place. The staff will practice standard precautions of hand hygiene, use of same, I'm telling it repeatedly, viewing of dead body by unzipping the face and the body bag by the staff. Using standard precautions may be allowed for the relative to see the body for the last time, but religious ritual, that means reading the mantra chant from religious script, sprinkling holy water and any other thing are allowed, but one which require touching of the body, as Sanjay has told, that crying over the chest, that is not allowed. Touching of the body is not allowed. Next. Next one. So bathing. Next one. Bathing, kissing, hugging, etc. of the dead body should not be allowed. The funeral or burial staff and the family members should perform hand hygiene after cremation and burial. The ash does not pose any risk and can be collected. We call it vibhuti or the osthi can be collected to perform the last rites. Large gatherings at the crematorium burial ground should be avoided. Every state has got rule how many persons maximum can go, and the social distancing measures to be taken, and close family members contact may be avoided or others. So this is my reference, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and CDC, Central Disease Control of United States. So all of us, let us, next one, next one. Next slide, please. This is my reference, I've already told, and next. Perhaps this is the last, next one. So all of us, let us pray. O Karuna Kalana. This is a cartoon taken from social networking, that putting on the main door, Corona Matao or O Karuna Kalana Ajmatan. So it's just like putting lemon and mirchi on the, is a ritual like that. And thank you all for the patient hearing. I may be a little 1 or 2 minutes late. Sorry for that. That is due to some technical glitch. Thank you very much. And for the patient hearing, if you have got any question, you can ask.
Thank you very much, Tapas sir, for having such a wonderful deliberation here. Now over to Dr. Manoj Kumar Hasda, Associate Professor, to put some questions from the chat box as well as some participants as well.
Thank you, sir, for delivering such an eloquent presentation. Really, sir, it's very informative with as well as entertaining to listen to you, because it was really very subjective and informative. Your talks are always very subjective and informative, and we all hope that you will participate every year and keep on spreading more knowledge and wisdom till the best of your coming year, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll take a few questions that have cropped up in the chat box. Basically, they'll deal with whether every state government have a different set of rule regarding testing of dead bodies for COVID-19. Like, sir, in Odisha, we have to take the permission of collectors before doing RAT test or RT-PCR test. Sir, what about the guidelines, sir?
Indian Constitution, health has a dual responsibility. So main responsibility lies on the state. So it is the care, and each state has got different rule. You can see simple, more other things like quarantine, like transfer to coming and going from state. All state have different rules. So we cannot do anything. You can suggest the government to have a better rule. Otherwise, it is difficult. In our state, it is not possible to do the RT-PCR in dead bodies. Initially, we done a few. Then they told, no, we are scared. Kids are less. Let us concentrate on living persons only. Forget about dead bodies.
Okay, sir.
So that is the main problem. So it has got a lot of we can do, but it is not doing here also, because without consent and so many things will come afterwards. Suppose it is positive, then whether we can tell to the patient party, and then they will have you and cry why it is not done earlier, like that. So many things.
Okay, sir. So there is another question from Dr. Sheikh that says that autopsy in foreigner suspicious death with COVID positive. What are the guidelines, sir?
The deceased is a foreigner.
Foreigner, sir.
The rule is same. Autopsy rule is same, but something legal is different, that you have to inform the embassy, concerned embassy through police. Because if any foreigner dies, may not be due to COVID, it has a rule, or whether they will take the body to their country or not. All depends on government to government negotiation. Normally, it has been told that this COVID body should not be transferred.
Yes, sir.
There are instances it has been transferred by special. In India, nothing is impossible.
Okay.
So depends on authority. We are not concerned about that. We shall just inform. Our job is to inform, and they will do the needful whatever they like. Sometimes they want to keep the body for a prolonged period, that relatives to come, like that. But we want to dispose as soon as possible. So conflict of interest is there. So adaptation to the environment will lead to survival of the fittest. If you fight too much in government service,
Really. Sir, another question is there from Amrat, Dr. Amrat. It says that, is there any autopsy-based research reported from India in COVID-19 deaths, sir?
Till India, there is not much publication. There are a few publications, but non-authentic publication. We only believe in authentic publication in peer-review esteemed journals. If you search the internet, there are a lot of papers coming from other countries. Now, I'm giving example of my state. This pathological autopsy has started less than a month. So unless and until the very little number of cases, say I think 5 or 6 till now. So it is not good to give some inference on that. But whatever is found that I have already given, that we earlier it was believed that it only affects lungs. Now it has been seen that it is also having the pathological affection of liver, kidney, and many other organs. It's great multi-organ. There is no doubt in that. So Professor Shobhnak Das is doing that. He will publish. Yeah, paper will be published. Just wait for thing. We are always late.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I will next hand over the dice to HOD madam.
The next speaker here in our scientific session is a doctor whose dedication and care brings healing, comfort, and hope. Mental health is not a destination, but a process. It's about how you drive, not where you are going. And in these tough, unprecedented times where the whole world witnessed a huge roadblock, it was nevertheless the mental health which got majorly impacted to the constant and continual process of lockdowns and shutdowns, banging on for almost 2 years. Mental health needs more sunshine, and to discuss this with a holistic approach to support and succor, I would like to invite on board our next speaker, Dr. Sanjukta Das, whom I personally know as the one having an unexplained sensitivity and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion and a deep loving concern. Beautiful people do not just happen, and she is one with both letter in spirit. Welcoming you, Dr. Sanjukta, on board to share a vision. Few things in the world are more powerful than a positive push, a smile, a world of optimism and hope. You can do it when things are tough. She is a consultant liaison psychiatrist, James Paget University Hospital, Norfolk, United Kingdom. She is a liaison executive committee member for Royal College of Psychiatrists. She is also the National Accreditation Committee member and a cultural secretary for Odisha Society of United Kingdom as well. I invite you once again with your words. On board, Sanjukta. Welcome.
Thank you so much for highlighting Dr. Sudeepa Das. And it's indeed a pleasure to actually be invited by you and to share the same platform with you. And the way you have explained the need for mental health and the ongoing need, especially in the pandemic and as we are moving, hopefully, out of the pandemic, I think we have to do a lot. It's just not the need for awareness and removing stigma. It's more about how each doctor and each individual in the society needs to work towards this. So without taking much of the time, can I have my slides, please? Next, please. I am quoting this from Rabindranath Tagore. And I think this is what is our culture. This is what we know for ages. But what have we done about this? So age considers and youth ventures. And when the youth ventures, are we supporting as adults, so-called adults? That is the main thing which we have to see. India is populated by youngsters, and we have the maximum potential to create wonders in the world. So are we ready? Let's see. Let's individually let's individually go within ourselves and then see what we can and what we can't do and how we can progress, because life is about progressing. Next slide, please. And this is what is the key thing, that adolescence is a time, either you make it or you break it. So if you lay the foundation during these times when the brain is still developing and is finalizing its executive functions, are we doing the right things? Are we nurturing a weed, or are we nurturing a fruit plant, that is a fruit tree? That is what we have to see. Next slide, please. So adolescence, as I have already mentioned, is a very critical period for brain development, and brain changes enable young people to venture out into the world, learn about their limits, and from social identities, separate from their families, paving the way for independence. And how are we supporting this independence is the key thing. Are we encouraging and empowering them with support when they do the mistakes? That is what we have to see. Please think, are we doing that? Young people who are living with a chronic health condition face additional challenges on top of the challenge which the adolescence produces. So these tasks of adolescence, previous slide, please. Yeah. Next slide, yeah. So these young people, when they have chronic health conditions, whether it's physical or mental, it poses additional challenges in achieving these tasks. And we have to understand in that context as well. Next slide, please. I really want to reinforce, and I know that there is a medical population and there is a police force which are actually listening to this, because we are in a position where we can make a difference. And as my topic says, what are the challenges we face when we are looking after these young people? So we have to think, yes, they have grown to adult sizes, but have they grown in their brain? Do they have the maturity to understand what we adults think that the adolescent can understand? Yes, they have matched our heights now. They have matched the adult's body stature, but their brain is still developing. So it is very important that we provide a safe environment and a loving, consistently supporting and loving atmosphere, affectionate atmosphere, if we want to create loving individuals, caring individuals, and compassionate individuals for future. So we really have to help them in their growing years by allowing them to do mistakes while we cover up. That is how I always think about adolescent, because when I see cases with traumatic backgrounds, it's very difficult to then make a change. It's double the efforts. So why don't we focus on making that single effort? So when we talk to the teenagers, we always assume, we always name okay, they didn't do this right, they didn't do that right. But are we even thinking that do they have that maturity? Because teenagers function with their emotions, with their feelings. So what we do as adults is equally important. What emotions we reflect as we talk to them, that is also important. Suppose a person with a mental health condition or a physical health condition comes to a doctor. What are we thinking? Are we treating them like just a number, or are we treating them just as a condition, as a limb, as a brain, as a heart, or are we treating the whole individual? Please, I'm requesting all the doctors to think about it. And with all the other emergency services or the police force specifically, are we thinking it as a crime, or are we thinking as a holistic person who has gone through some difficulties? I know there is no time, but for one individual who has come to you with their issues and problems, I think that is the opportunity to use and shape that individual. That is equally important. So let's be mindful when we are providing service. What are we providing? Are we just providing for the sake of a tick box, or are we doing it? I belong to India, so obviously I know the warmth which is there. Let's use that warmth which we have for ages in our culture. Young people always want that reassurance and approval from the adults. So the adults have the responsibility to believe in them. And if whatever happens, we have to encourage them. So covering their mistakes, I'm not saying cover a murder or cover something that, but then before that happens, I'm always talking about preventative measures, which we have to use when we are doing our service provision. And we have to also think, I think we all can think about it, what happens in our own houses, that are we all the time punishing our children, our teenagers, or are we rewarding them also? So I know how much it happens that, the teenagers, like the very common example, the suicides which happen when they fail the exam. How many are we preventing? What are we doing as parents to prevent that? What are we doing as, family friends when we are doing that? Please think, so that this teenager or the person is not driven to this extreme step of committing suicide. That is, we have to think. So if they get a little bit of less numbers, I know the culture is about 99.99, but is it really necessary? I have come to this country. I have never told anybody about how much percentage I have scored. So think, what is there special and unique in your teenager, in your youth, youngster who is living in your own houses? I'm focusing very much basic on the family unit, because all these family units make the society. So please think. Yes, we have to put some boundaries. Yes, I agree. We have to think about, how much independence are we going to give? And if few things don't match how we want them to be independent, that's okay. They are not going to be your clones. They are going to be, somebody as an individual. You don't want your clones to roam around like as a father or as a mother. You don't want to think like that. So please think, what are we doing as the brain is developing? So always think, what you are not feeding to your child is not important. What you are asking them to wear is not important. What you are implanting as a thought, as a seed, think about that. Next slide, please. As I think an earlier speaker also mentioned this, that about half of all mental illnesses are known to begin at the age of 14 and 3/4 by mid-20s. Believe me, it is the most painful thing when a youngster comes to me and then says, like, you know what, I was doing university, I was doing really well, and I don't know what's happening. I'm hearing voices. That's the most painful thing. So in this current pandemic, I just want, how much did we give time to these simple things, that there is a youngster in the house, and then what are we doing to make them feel that, yes, it's difficult for me as adults, and I know it's difficult for you as a youngster, because if we don't understand each other, I think that is when they seek, because everybody as an individual, as a human being, would seek for love, affection, and support. So if we don't support each other, they will seek from outside. We know all this for ages. How much are we implementing? Next slide, please. So I can give you a lot of statistics and a lot of data. And I think I always focus on being a complete doctor. So what I want to say is, let's be aware that globally mental and substance use disorders are recognized burden of disease and years lived with disability. I know there is a lot of stigma around this, but then what are we doing about it? This is an issue. Are we dealing with it? That is what I want to ask. So what I'm trying to do is, let's all think about ourselves, what we are doing. I'm saying it in simple terms. Let's think about what we are doing, how we can do differently. So among various age groups, adolescents and young adults probably suffer the most, and they contribute to the highest proportion of disability adjusted life years. So what I'm trying to say is we can't waste youth. So think, what can we do differently? Next slide, please. This, I would share some scenarios with you. Dr. Sudeepa Das, let me know if I'm running out of time, so I'll be quick, yeah? Give me a budge. This is the most important thing. And I know in my notes, most of the time I write this ACE. And when I write this ACE, that is the most painful time I feel, because then I am already like in a position where I'm thinking, oh my God, how much more effort I have to make. So please be aware, whenever something happens in the house, whenever something happens, it may be behind the closed doors. You may be presenting things in a more kind of beautiful way outside, but have you given enough good experience, or have you given them adverse experiences so that you have disrupted the neurodevelopmental stages of your youngster? And then that will lead to all the social, emotional, and cognitive impairment. And then that is where all the risk behaviors and everything, come into play. And then obviously be mindful that somebody who has a mental disorder, they die 10 to 20 years earlier than an average person. So you really have to think, what are we doing in our own houses, in our own communities, in our own schools to make a difference in our own neighborhood? So just don't think that it's their problem. Help if you can. Next slide, please. So what I was telling you about this example is, recently I had two cases who were in their 20s. And then one of them had absolutely everything what you want: a good house, a good family, a good extended family, and a good kind of everything what you can think of as a perfect. But then he developed something which like a mental disorder, and we were unable to change him at all. So there was a time when he was so angry with what was going on with him that he completely smashed the hospital ward. And then he also hit a lot of people. Was that crime, or was that frustration, and was that anger that nobody could understand him? And he almost got attached to me and my psychologist, because we were the listening ears and we were providing the compassion which he always wanted. It was a most painful thing that when we had to discharge the patient, but that is what happens. How much then you try, they become, they then have chronic enduring illnesses, and then the life is completely in a different trajectory. What we wanted them to be, completely different. He used to be a very good football player, but completely everything changed. So what I'm suggesting is, don't be so busy with your own things that you forget what your youngster needs. I'm not saying something which is out of the blue. We all know this, but how many times are we implementing it on a daily basis? That is what we have to think. So those people, so I'm talking about this secure attachment, which if we don't provide in the initial years can be a problem. So next slide. So this is what a secure attachment provides. So when a child is born, so the moment we see, in some movies, they show like, when the baby opens the eyes, I've seen some cartoon films where they say, oh, that's mama, that's mama. So, that is the beginning of the secure attachment. So it provides a sense of security and safety, which is so vital for future. And it is also it regulates and reduces the distress, and obviously creates joy and, the soothing behaviors or soothing kind of feeling. The person then, we make the person much more a stronger, loving and affectionate and compassionate person. And then it is the secure base. Then the youngster will be able to take the challenges. Next slide. I have learned this over the years. So I always talk about nature and nurture. And I think this is how I also function in my day-to-day practice, that we are made up of a certain genetic makeup. There can be difficulties, or there can be something which is not working, or we can call them as defective. But at the same time, nurture is equally important. So even if there are some difficulties genetically, you can always nurture and overcome them. So please think, are we providing a beautiful, nurturing environment for fruit trees or non-weed trees to grow, or are we nurturing a weed? Think about it. Next slide, please. This is, I think, I dated back to my professors in SCB Medical College. My professor, may his soul rest in peace, is no more, but I still hold on to what he taught me ages ago, that there are two situations where things can completely go wrong. Either it is an overstimulating situation, or it is an over-inhibiting situation. So one person can be really happy when they get success and then move on in a humble way and make more positive changes around the world. But there can be some people who don't know what to do with their success and completely use all sorts of wrong methods and measures to maintain that success. And that is kind of similar, that either you then precipitate with a mental disorder, or you have like kind of a normal lifestyle. Similarly, with the over-inhibiting situation or an event, that is what happens when, it is, we face a death. A lot of people respond to death of a loved one in different ways. So during this pandemic, I have seen people who have gone and done charities or have supported other person because they loved someone whom they couldn't even go to their funeral. But there have been people who have lost their loved one in the pandemic and have attempted to commit suicide. So, how you respond, you really don't know. So you have to think what we create as a base, then they can respond in a positive way or a negative way when this overstimulating and over-inhibiting situation happens. Next slide, please. So there are for all these challenges and, the youth which they have to face, whether they go towards crime and violence, is that there is a risk factor, or a protective factor. So the risk factor is anything that increases the probability that a person will suffer harm. And a protective factor is something that decreases the potential harmful effect of a risk factor. So think, for a particular individual, what are the risk factors and how can we eliminate that risk with using the protective factors? And that is how I think I most of the time see people when they are in crisis, when they are struggling. So this is how we try to eliminate the risk factor by using the protective factor to their advantage. And we always try to dig out what are the strengths in the past and what are the current strengths, and that is how we try to move on for every individual we see. Next slide, please. So all these risk factors and protective factors which lead to mental, emotional, behavioral disorders in adolescence depend on different domains. You can all think about this: individual, family, peer, school, community. I'm not saying something out of the blue, and it is not something which you all don't know. For individual, I think the major risk factors are like being a female. I'm not saying that males don't face issues and things like that, but I think as societies, we are still struggling to keep the female gender in a more kind of secure, protective way. We still say, oh, don't go out, it's already 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. We still say it. And, it's about so anytime, that is what. So here also, we have to say, I drive, and then that is what we have to say. So suppose I get into an emergency, we have to always say that I'm a female and I am alone in a vulnerable situation. Why are the females vulnerable? Think, what is that we can't venture out on our own? But having said that, even male people can be difficult, but I'm obviously focusing on the major proportion. And then early puberty also can be difficult. So, these are the individual things which can be difficult and what can be the protective factors. So I would encourage people to, have a positive physical development, knowing the self-defense techniques, and, having a high self-esteem that can be protective for individuals. And, if somebody is short-tempered and quickly gets into a trouble, that can be so we have to know. So this is what happened to my individual, who then was very angry with what was happening, and then he smashed a lot of people. And then obviously, he got into the legal system. So that is what we have to think. How are we regulating our emotions? If we have positive emotional regulation with secure attachment. So as soon as a child is born, I think it's the responsibility of the adults to start working towards it. And then we have to make them understand the good coping skills. And similarly, if it is, so there are lots of examples, you all can think about it. And if it is in a family, if the parents have, mental disorder, and if the child is being the carer, and if there is a negative family environment with substance misuse or alcohol use, and if, the child is seeing or being subjected to abuse and maltreatment, it can be emotional. It doesn't always have to be physical. That is important. So there are various examples, but I'm just trying to be mindful about the time. And in schools, I think we have to send our children to a positive environment. And it is every parent's responsibility so that our children are not faced with stressful events and with peer rejection. And then we have to be also mindful that, they have, even if they are not doing well academically, we don't push them. Poverty can be another thing, so these are the things in our community and in our neighborhood, which can be difficult, and which kind of, we have to think about the community violence and, traumatic events. So those are the things which we have to think. Next slide, please. So what can we do? What we can do is we have to focus on social skills, problem-solving skills, and building up our youngsters' self-confidence. Because if we don't do that, I think we are actually giving the foundation for risk behaviors, for mental health problems, and then we will say that we are having a difficult adult. Next slide, please. I'm mindful about the audience, and I would like to suggest that, we have to have, we have to improve the access to justice. There is always room for improvement. So let's think about it in that way, that are we providing a safe, friendly, and gender-sensitive environment, procedures, and mechanisms for victims to come and report? Are the professionals empathetic? Are they judgmental? If they are judgmental, I don't think victims will have the courage, or the carers of the victims will have the courage to come and report. So how professionally we can address that is equally important. So yeah, next slide, please. So when we have all these prevention strategies and everything, I think what I have seen benefits is if children or the youth have a voice in development of these strategies. So the person who has gone through the worst, and then the person who has faced difficulties with the system, will be in a better position to tell us. We have found, in kind of from my experience, I'm saying that this is called as co-production, and then this is like using the service users' opinions and feedback is really helpful. Next slide, please. These are simple goals. I think we know. Are we trying to think that we will be able to achieve it? If not, at least what we can do is we can work towards it. So we know this for ages, that if we empower females, I think we will bring up a stronger community. I'm not being biased. I have never kind of believed that only females have to be supported. But in this current scenario, I think that is what is important. And we have to avoid public and violence in public and in private spheres. We have to be very inclusive. That's fine if somebody has an issue. We have to include them, and we have to hold institutions accountable if they are not being inclusive. We can't say, so especially in schools or in places, you know, oh, he has a mental disorder. You know what? Oh, we know he's mad. Let's not say that. That is a disorder. That they can't help it. That's why they are. You never make fun of a person who has had a fracture. So think about it in that way. Next slide, please. I would like to end with this, and along with the youngsters, I'm trying to also call for all the adults to make their promises today with me, how they will be with their back home and when they go to teaching and everything. So stand up, be more responsibility on your own shoulders, and know that you are creators of your own destiny. This is for the youth, but it can't happen without the adults' support. So think about it, what you can do and how you can do.
So thank you so much, Sanjukta. I would like to invite Dr. Hemant Panigrahi, Associate Professor of our department, to put certain questions from the chat box. Please, Dr. Hemant.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjukta, for a exhilarating discussion and delivery.
It's echoing. Can't hear you. Not mine. Mic on it.
Sanjukta?
Yeah.
Is he audible?
Yeah, no, not as yet.
So I think there were some glitches here as well, but
Yeah,
what a wonderful deliberation that you presented in spite of your time zone constraints. I really do thank you so much for being here. It's an honor. It was the discussions and deliberations you presented were extremely exhilarating. And the question is that what do you have to speak about some adverse childhood experience and the child to get out of it? Certain risk factors and some preventive methods. Can you just have some preventive strategies, how you can pull a child out of any adverse childhood experiences that he could have and how to handle it?
Okay, there are two aspects to this. Like one is what is happening in the immediate current scenario. Is it really difficult? So you have to remove the child from that if you come to know about it. It's also about reporting as well, or it's also about the youngster reporting. It's about that awareness that I'm going through. So most of the time it's emotional. So sometimes the youngster or the child may not know what's happening. So that's number one. And then how you remove. And after you remove, what you do about it. Once the edge is done, I think it's a lot of hard work which we have to. So we have to go through all the psychological aspects to it and the physical aspects to it, because sometimes it's about that learned helplessness which happens, that the youngster doesn't know, that the child doesn't know what to do. You just are removing them from the family or from the environment. What do? You leave them in another place. Do you have that kind of setup where you leave the child? So it's about social aspects of it, about the housing, about everything. So can you think of that? And then there is like, how do you address? So there are different modes of or models of psychological help and counseling which happens. And then if those things have led to a psychiatric disorder, then that is also like you have to address. So it's about the psychiatric aspects of it, the social aspects of it, and then the psychological aspects of it. And there are like two aspects of, first, immediately what you do, you remove, and then after that, how much. So it's about the long-term support, because it's not easy. Like, okay, I have addressed it. This is what it is. No, that doesn't happen. It always comes back if you have not processed it in a way and you have not dealt with it. So there are different modes of therapy, like, trauma-based therapy, trauma-focused therapies, and a lot of, I can go on and on about it. But then what has happened after that experience, what the individual is presenting with, that is what we have to address.
Thank you so much. I invite more questions from the participants, and I can see Dr. Shrimant.
Yeah, good
Dr.
afternoon,
Shrimant,
madam.
do you have any questions?
No. It's very nicely explained by Dr. Sanjukta, and all the presenters were excellent in their presentation, and they have given a very good insight to the discussion today. Thank you, madam.
So thank you, Sanjukta, Dr. Sanjukta, for joining us with all of us here today and making it very pleasant and a memorable experience. I truly thank you from the core of my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Words of wisdom. A suave, smart, and wearing a mystic charm, I would like to welcome our very own Professor Dr. Braja Kishore Das, Additional DMET, who is an enterprising, young, and dynamic person working with passion, information, and action. Nevertheless, is one of the most gentle, unassuming Prasabhai, as he is dearly known to all of us, with his amazing credentials on board to sparkle the session with pearls of his wisdom. Please, sir, do the honors. He is currently the additional DMET of Health and Family Welfare Government of Odisha, and he served as the Director Hospital Board of India 2018 to 2020. He was the President of MLSO 2016 to 2018 and the Vice President of IMA Cuttack Branch 2012 to 2020. He also has been a secretary of IMA Cuttack branch from 2007 to 2010 and the joint secretary of Indian Society of Toxicology 2017. He also has been a member, Central Council of IMA headquarters from 2006 to 2020 and has won the National IMA Award for the Best Secretary 2009 as the crowning glory. Now, I would like to invite him on board and speak words of wisdom to navigate the current pandemic and steer clear with his strategies and strategic planning. Please, Brother Bhai, do the honors.
Thank you, Sudipa. First of all, I would like to thank the entire Department of FMT, MKC Medical College, Barampur, for organizing such a marvelous webinar in this pandemic situation. And particularly, I am thankful to Sudipa for insisting that Rajva, you please speak few words, at least for some time. Though I was reluctant initially, because then I asked that we should be doing it on Saturday, so that will be a holiday. But from today onwards, the Saturday has become a working day. So things are really difficult for the routine work to go. And in that, we are hats off to Sudipa and the entire team for doing some such academic extravaganza. And this indeed is an international webinar where we have got speakers of eminence, starting from offshore to various parts of India. And when, just like I had heard Sachi sir saying that what we mean words of wisdom. So when Sudeepa also told me that Rajbhai, we will be giving words of wisdom. See, wisdom, these are to be told by wise people. So, and usually wise is considered with age. So with so many senior persons here, the criteria of choosing us as to give some words of wisdom is really, I felt really honored. And as seeing Simanta in front of me, what we call typical that this gives a Buddha feeling.
No.
We have grown old.
You are one of the stalwarts of forensic medicine fraternity in Odisha. That's
thank you, Simanta. This is not like that. We are having so many stalwarts here. All of us, many Sachi sir is there, Mano sir is there, many people are there. So it is not like that. But so when I thought that we would be speaking, so as usual, Sanjay sir has been a very excellent speaker, and followed by Tapas sir, which was TK Bose, with he concentrated packed with the gist of the things, facts. Sachi sir also told. So, and so coming to the theme, how it started, this journey of difficult journey of last 2 years, where we are all of us have passed through a stage, just like I had seen one slide of Dr. TK Bose, where he has shown that world is shut down temporarily. So actually we are going from a shutdown stage and shut down from lockdown and still trying to thrive along with these things. So retrospectively, what I can think that during this last 2 years, because of lockdown, what has changed in the behavior, in the crime scene of the people. First is because of extended lockdown, people stayed indoors, and natural corollary of staying indoor is that we got a lot of cases of domestic violence. So increased incidence of domestic violence cases, and in fact, this has been admitted by UN chief that a lot of incidents, horrifying global surge in domestic violence occurred during this extended period of lockdowns by various governments. In fact, one of our speakers was saying that, in fact, it was, I think Sanjay sir told that there are the guidelines of lockdown and shutdown varied from place to place. If coming out without mask was a crime in Cuttack, the same was quite normal in Ganjam. So even from in the state, in the district onwards, things were changing. And what apart from domestic crime, what is of interest, actually, our first speaker, Dr. Upadhyay, DG Prisons, has spoken extensively on it, that about the web-based crime. Because of people staying indoors, there was a surge in online web browsing and online purchase. So what happened because of this? And in fact, the PM Cares Fund, lot of contributions were being sought online. So all these things they created, they exposed the people for cyber attacks. So these are two things that comes to my mind. And as a medical legal practitioner, whenever you see what happened due to this pandemic situation, there was a very much delay in case of medical legal examinations. Initially, everyone was confused when the case of in the first wave, everyone was confused whether to do autopsy or not, whether to do medical examination of the accused before any COVID testing. RAT was not available. RT-PCR was taking 3 days time. So everybody was confused whether to do medical examination or not. And with the literature saying that doing autopsy may cause, because there was a feeling that this is airborne. So doing autopsy may expose the persons. PPE kit was not available for the healthcare workers. Forget about autopsy. People donning PPE kits. So all these things, they initially caused a delay in medical examination, and there was a time when autopsies were waived off indiscriminately. I remember very clearly that initially there was a case at Puri and one at Balesur, the autopsy being waived off just because no one, everyone is worried. If we do the autopsy, there is a definite chance of the case of transmission of COVID. And at that time, a single case of COVID positive was a headline news. So, and subsequently, a guideline was formed because of the then the judicial people started getting positive. So a guideline was formed while forwarding the accused to the court. But definitely, in spite of different diligent efforts on the part of the lawmakers and the medical professional, a guideline for the examination of the victims could not be formulated. Uniform guidelines for the exam victims could not be formulated, because here there was always a chance of loss of evidence. And second thing was that the doctors can do the examination wearing protective kits. So this was one point which concerned us as doctors very much. Then there was smuggling of drugs in the as sanitizers, and hoarding and overpricing of mass sanitizer, essential drugs, pulse oximeters. All these things, they contributed to black marketing and crime scene. I remember there was a time when we were trying to convince our healthcare workers to use a mask for a week, or giving them 3 masks which they can use for a period of 10 days. There was a situation when I visited certain ICUs where the healthcare workers were without mask, without proper PPE protective equipment. So at that time, because all these PPE kits were manufactured in China and they were brought down from China, and because of this epidemic, we stopped this. Any import from China was stopped. So these things were there. Then, because of that thing, there was a question of hate crimes. Hate crimes against Northeast people, against the people of Asian origin was also there. And because there was a situation, particularly if we remember during the first wave, there was a congregation of Tablighi in Delhi, and it was decided that raised the that contributed to the spread of epidemic. So that Tablighi thing, so this raised the sin of what you call this raised the sin of this contributed to the situation of racial discrimination. Then there was a thing because that people in the last time there was an incident where people started to do the what you call spitting for that spitting so that the disease could be spread. There were videos that that we could see where people were using that saying that we are spitting on the police or someone was there. They tried to spit on them to get away. And intentionally, police department, they say they wanted to arrest fewer people to prevent potential spread of COVID in jails and tackling issues in a different manner. So, seeing this overcrowding, what was decided that how the people has to be, how the people to be, how the people could be, how the load in the jails could be reduced. So, Supreme Court of India directed all Union state governments to consider releasing some prisoners, resulting in as many as 34,000 being temporarily released. So, different countries, US, Indonesia, Iran, Afghanistan, etc., they have also reduced number of prisoners. So, there is also some positive of this extended lockdown. One of the positive being the people being forced to stay indoors. People being forced to stay indoors, that resulted in the less amount of home thefts and burglaries. However, there was a rise in commercial burglaries, and there is no case of car theft. And even what we saw in our day-to-day practice about autopsy, a lot of cases of accident, they also reduced. So there were certain positives out of this, and what we have learned that how to go ahead with this COVID, as our Sanjay sir had told, that we have to the aim of this deliberation. One of the aims of this deliberation is to gain some food for thought, and what we have gained is that how to do the things with minimal physical presence. We have to do the things with minimal physical presence, and so for that we are using this online things more and more. So thank you all for your patient hearing, and thank you, Sudeepa, for organizing this webinar and inviting me to be a part of very eminent persons. I have tried to share whatever I could do within this office hours and within my limited knowledge of the things going on. Thank you all.
Indeed, thank you so much, Braja Bhai, because you had really enlightened us with your speech, not with your limited knowledge, but we had some constraints over the technical part issues, and so it could not be handled. I don't know whether it was handled properly or not. But then if any glitches and any inconvenience due to our part, I'm extremely sorry for that, and I apologize to one and all the participants and as well as the speakers. The last part is the delivering the vote of thanks by Dr. Kiran Patnaik, who is an associate professor and additional superintendent of MKCG Medical College, Berhampur. Dr. Kiran, please carry on with your vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, madam. Hello, everyone. A warm and cherished good afternoon to our beloved Dean and Principal, madam,
Chief Speaker,
our Chief
all
Speaker,
the guest speakers,
all the guest speakers, the speakers
words of wisdom,
the words of wisdom, and the entire management committee, and above all the participants. So a very warm good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed a privilege for me to propose a vote of thanks and thank all of them and acknowledge the contributions of everyone who have worked hard to make this event see the light of the day. First of all, I would like to start by thanking our principal and dean, Dr. and Professor Diptimay Tripathi. Madam has indeed been an inspiration always. From the day when we informed her that we are going to have an international webinar, and she is a lady of academics, she would never say no, and she gave the go ahead, and she has since then stood by us and encouraged us for having this webinar on digital platform. So thank you, madam, for your encouragement. Next, I would like to thank Sri Santosh Kumar Upadhyay sir, the Director General of Prisons as well as the Director of Correctional Services. I don't think sir is there in now. So anyway, sir has given a very clear elaboration on the crime that take place in COVID-19 pandemic, and he has highlighted some important points like cyber crime and crime due to banking affairs, and he has given a very he has elaborated all these things very nice with very nice examples. I would like to thank sir from my core of heart. Despite his busiest schedule, he could spare some time and be with us with his deliberation. Next, our beloved Professor Sanjay Das sir, whom we know since our college days. Despite his health issues, sir has given us time, and we were actually circumspect that he would back up from speaking, but he told that no, despite my health issues, I will go ahead with the topic that you have given. I will participate in this webinar. So, sir, again, a lot of thanks from our side for gracing this session and giving your advice on issues relating to the living during the COVID pandemic, especially your inputs regarding the insurance part and other legal issues were very, very informative, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving us time. Then I'm extremely thankful to none other than Professor Tapas Kumar Bose, sir, who is always ready and a phone call away. And when we approached him to be a guest speaker, he instantly agreed to our proposal. And he has also vividly described the legal and ethical aspects related to the dead bodies, handling of dead bodies in COVID-19. Sir, it was a very, very scientific deliberation from your side, sir. So thanks for sparing your valuable time. I know you are a very busy man in Health Department of West Bengal. Till then, you could spare some time and come for us. So thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Sanjukta Das, none other than Sanjukta Das, who is in United Kingdom, and despite her, actually we are organizing this at a time which is not suitable for her. I think it would be morning time when her presentation was there. So coming out from her comfort zone, she could give a nice deliberation on the psychological aspect. Madam, I would like to thank you for the enthusiasm that you have shown for the scientific session. And next, I would like to thank our Professor Satchidananda Mahanti sir and Brajadas sir, both of us who are elder brothers, just like elder brothers to me. And thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. You have critically analyzed these speakers very well, and you have proposed your opinion on their talk. So thank you, sir. I know Sati sir is again a very busy man. Even Braja sir is again a busy man in working in AIMS and DMET office respectively. They hardly have time. Sati sir actually called me yesterday and asked me that he told me that he had a meeting, important meeting at 10:30, 11. But I am very much obliged to sir because he could make out some time despite his busy schedule. So also Brother sir is a very, very busy man in the government. And I thank both of you, sir, for taking out some time from your busy schedule and sharing your ideas with us. Next, I would come to introducing a man without whom this webinar would not have been possible. He is none other than Dr. Chinmay Mahapatra from Pharmacology Department. And right from preparing the flyer, preparing the agenda, and all that we are, all the technical support that he has given right from the beginning of the webinar, I would extend my heartful thanks to Dr. Chinmay Mahapatra, and I don't have actually words for him because whatever he has done, we cannot forget. Without him, this webinar would not have been possible due to the technical support that he has extended to us, and he would be available a phone call away at any time of the day. So that was very, very nice of him. Then I would like to thank our crew or the staff, you can say, Dr. Manoj Hasda, Dr. Hemant Panigrahi, Dr. Abanita Sethi. These three faculties have been there since the beginning of the, when we started thinking organizing this international webinar, because a lot of hard work, lot of things are to be taken care of, from selection of topics to contacting the guests and arranging everything in time and scheduling the entire event. So I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the three faculty members of my department, Dr. Manoj, Dr. Hemant, and Dr. Abanita, for having supported us in making this webinar successful. Then I would now like to thank people who have participated in this webinar. There is no use if you are just speaking and there is nobody to listen. So a lot of participants were there in today's webinar. We actually regret we could not accommodate all of them, and we are getting a lot of phone calls and messages throughout the webinar session that they could not check in, and we are extremely sorry for that, those who have missed out. And I would like to mention one or two names who have actually participated from outside India. This is, mind you, this is an international webinar. Dr. Iman Abdel Ghani from Egypt and Dr. Nahed, they have participated in this webinar as international guests or delegates. I would extend my heartfelt thanks to them as well as to all the participants. And the unique thing about this webinar is lot of police personnel were there as participants. I can see IIC Inspector in charge of Purushothampur, IIC of Chhatrapur, and many other police persons who are there. And I would like to extend my thanks because this is a webinar organized by forensic medicine, but we had asked many police persons to register and join and listen to the topics. All the topics were fine, I think, nice, and it would come to help to all the investigating agencies during this COVID pandemic time. So in our participants were not only doctors, police persons were also there. So I would like to thank all the participants for having participated in and making this webinar a grand success. Then coming to the area or arena where we are sitting right now and using the digital platform, that is the telemedicine department. I would like to thank the nodal officer of telemedicine, Dr. Satyadarshi Patnaik, for allowing the platform to use. And I would like I like to thank all the staff of telemedicine department and even the person who was providing us with tea and coffee and all Kamala. So I will extend my thanks to all of them. And last but not the least, our head of the department, Professor Sudeepa Das. How can I conclude without thanking her? Because it was her plan to go for an international webinar. I don't remember, I don't know, but I think this is the first international webinar of forensic medicine organized by MKCG and in Odisha also. So I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Madam for having so I don't think I have not missed anyone, if at all.
And thank you to Dr. Kiran Kumar Patnaik also for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sudeepa and Kiran. For live webinar, I congratulate you. Namaskar, Sachi sir, Sanjay sir, and Brajavai.
Oh, yes, a very, very happy birthday to you, Geeta, for giving us such occasion to organize the webinar on your birthday.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Geeta, wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, it got disconnected at the last moment.
It was a lovely webinar, yes.
So a big thanks to one and all.
So a big thanks to one and all.
So we conclude the meeting now.
Thank you,
So we
Kiran.
conclude the meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you, team MKCG. Thank you.
Big thank you to one and all.